Well, happy Friday, everyone. Happy Black Friday and day after Thanksgiving. Hopefully you all had a great time eating turkey or whatever you happen to do on Thanksgiving Day. And yeah, hopefully you guys got some time off from work, spend some time with friends, family, and just take this time to reflect on what you're thankful for. Hopefully related to lawn care and also maybe not related to lawn care as well. Well, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Ron Henry, and this is the live lawn care Q&A. The way this works is really simple. On your screen, you're going to see a chat box. In that chat box, you lay your question, comment, concern of the day, and I work through them in the order they come in. Sometimes I have the answer. A lot of times I don't. But either way, we have a great time talking about lawn care. All right, so let's see what we have in the live stream tonight. We got Mr. Jackie Bear leading the charge as always. Jackie saying, Brother Ron, have an excellent stream, sir. I appreciate it, Jackie. We're not sure how long we'll go tonight because, I mean, it is Thanksgiving weekend, so a lot of people are probably hanging out with family or out shopping or doing whatever it is people do on Black Friday. But I appreciate those of you that decide to come hang out for a little bit. Again, we'll talk about lawn care. If you guys want to talk about other stuff, we can do that too. A lot of stuff going on. But yeah, definitely interested in hearing what's on your guys' mind tonight. All right, Joseph Roberts up next. He says, Happy Thanksgiving, Ron. Happy Thanksgiving, Joe, to you too. And hopefully all is well with you and your loved ones. Next up, we got Mr. Michael Anger saying, hello, good evening. Good evening, Michael. Hopefully you're doing all right. And Devin's in the house tonight, man. He's in here early. Normally, man, you have to show up later on. So I'm glad that you're able to get in a little bit early tonight. That's good, because if I have like a cool season grass question, particularly about ryegrass or something, I can say, you know what, I'm going to throw this Devin's way, and he's going to be able to get the answer for us. So I'm going to do my best. I'll try not to disappoint, sir. And yeah, thanks, sir, for coming to hang out tonight. I really, really do appreciate it. Really do appreciate it. So we got our super chat of the evening. I guess in the spirit of generosity, Mr. Robert Majoros is starting it out. Thank you so much, Robert.
Super chat received.
He didn't say a question or anything. Just wanted to contribute to the cause. I appreciate that, but I'm sure he's got a question here coming up. Actually, he does. So Robert's question is, so I did a cleanup mow. Think I may have found some large patch. Not good. That's not good. What liquid fungicide cocktail do you recommend applying, or am I too late? I'm 70% dormant now on my Xeon. You're not too late. I can tell you what I have done in the past when I was dealing with some large patch is I used Headway, which is propiconazole and azoxystrobin. And I can actually show you really quick. We can go over here to the golf course lawn store, go to shop, and then fungicide, insecticide. And then if you see Headway, this is what I used to take care of large patch in my lawn. There's this video, and there's also a video from last year that actually shows the large patch and the results that I got from using Headway on it. So it's a great product. The active ingredients in it, again, are propiconazole and azoxystrobin. So if you already have that in liquid form, then you could simply go that route. But it's really, really up to you. I'm also going to try and find the video for you here really quick. The one that actually showed the large patch that I had on my lawn and how it, how Headway did as far as cleaning up the damage. I'll see if I can find it here while I look for the next comment, and or question. Problem with YouTube videos, right, is a lot of times you don't necessarily name them with like fungicide in the title. It's named something else to be catchy, get people to watch it, which makes it more difficult to find when you need to look for it. All righty, let us see here. I think I'm getting close. Yep, found it. Found it. So let me get this over to, or I think I did. Maybe I got the wrong one. Yeah, that is the wrong video. Let me keep looking for it here, Robert, and I'll get it to you here in a second once I dig it up. But pretty much what you want is propiconazole and azoxystrobin. You can probably just use azoxystrobin, to be completely honest, to and get a good result with that. But I found with Headway, which it contains both, you get a great result. So there's really no reason to not hit it with that 1-2 punch and get the large patch out of your lawn sooner. What you're going to find is this, right? At least what I found in my case is when you apply the Headway to your lawn, and again, unless you're going to go liquid route, it's not like it's going to make the area that was damaged by it green up immediately. What it's going to do is it's going to arrest the spread of it. It's not going to get any worse. And then what you're going to find is over the course of a few weeks, is the lawn will heal and it'll grow back and it'll look a lot, it'll look much better than it did in the past. So yeah, I think this is the video here. This is the one, I'm pretty sure. Yes, I'll send this to you. You can check it out, and you'll see exactly how it worked. Yeah, this is the one. You can see exactly how it worked on my lawns. I showed the exact damage, and then after a couple of weeks later, and I tell you, Headway definitely will get it. We'll definitely do the business. So we'll say large patch video, and there you go. And if you decide that you want to get Headway, we carry it at the golf course lawn store. So unless you already have like liquid fungicides that you want to go with. So good stuff, man. Sorry you're dealing with that. Fungus problems stink. If your lawn is still 70% green, it means it's still growing, you're still mowing it. I would. I mean, why? I wouldn't just let it just sit around. Is it going to be as effective, or are you going to see the recovery as quickly as you would if you were dealing with this in, say, like May? Probably not, but I wouldn't just let large patches sit around in the lawn and not do something to try and get rid of it if it were me. Hope that helps, sir. Appreciate the super chat, and if you need anything else, definitely let me know. Hope you had a safe and fun Thanksgiving. All right, Doug 350Z twin turbo. You gotta leave the twin turbo. Can't forget that out. Is up next. He says, "Hey Ron, happy Friday from vacation in Florida. Had the neighbor send me some pics of the lawn." So let me get this straight. You were on vacation. You went on vacation, and you had your neighbor. You didn't have him like watch the dog or water the plants or check the mail. You're like, send me a picture of the lawn just so I can go. I don't have to deal with the withdrawals. Is that what you're telling me? I mean, I'm not judging you, but I'm just when I say it out loud. Do you see how that sounds, Doug? Just sounds a little like you're really committed. You're committed to the cause. I got some cool lawn pics to show you guys. I mean, we'll wait a little bit longer before I put them up. Dwayne from Dwayne's World, he has a Bermuda lawn that he's overseeded with ryegrass, and it looks pretty sweet. So I'm going to show you guys that, and then I'll also show you the current state of my lawn, which is right now dormant and not looking that great. But such is life, right? Such is life this time of year. All right, next up is Maxina says, working on leftovers. Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. The thing is, and it's probably sacrilegious for me to say this, but I actually don't like a lot of Thanksgiving food. Like, I don't really like turkey. The only thing I'd like is like the if you have butternut squash, that's okay. Stuffing, depending on how it's made, can be okay. But like actual turkey, I don't really like it that much. I mean, and I don't, it'd be interesting to find out of you guys, for those in the chat, how many of you are like huge fans of turkey, meaning, and by that I mean outside of Thanksgiving you regularly eat it. Like some people, I know they eat it in sandwiches, but it'd be interesting to find out how many people are actually really loving turkey, because it's not my jam so much. All right, next up is Cedric G. Cedric G's in the house. He said, Big Ron, no questions tonight, just hanging out, eating some leftovers, turfs up for down, stripe action forever. That's going to be the theme. We should call this like the leftovers live stream, right? Because that's what everyone's going to be doing, eating leftover Thanksgiving food for probably the next few days here at least, right? Depending on how much you cooked up, might be even longer. But let me show you guys, we can show it multiple times. Now, you know what? I'm going to give you contrast because I can show you the pictures of Dwayne's lawn. Some of you probably already seen it, but it's better if I show you the state of my lawns because then I can feel the pain of not deciding to overseed with rye. So this is how my lawn looked during the summer. Pretty awesome, right? Love that. That's what we aim for. This is how it looks right now. Not nearly as good. Not nearly as good. I did mow it, and don't judge me. I mowed it. Yeah, I know it's dormant. But now this is Dwayne's lawn, which is Bermuda overseeded with ryegrass. And this is the first picture. Hang on, I gotta cover one eye. I don't want to get blinded here. Just picture one. You can look at how deep and nice that color is. The stripe action looks great. And Dwayne sent these pictures to me. Picture number 2. And he said, Ron, the big thing about this, it doesn't even matter where the sun is. It stripes like so well. And you can see that, right? He said literally in the shade, and you can still see how nice the stripe action is. So I agree with you, Dwayne. It looks really, really, really nice. Looks like you got it's either you or your neighbors got like a big Merry Christmas float going on the lawn. Maybe, I think it's your lawn. Looks like that's your lawn. But the stripe action looks great, man. I salute you. Looks incredible. Kind of makes me wish I'd done it, but then I'd have to be out there mowing all the time. But it does look good. You can't argue with that. That is one good looking lawn right there. Stripe action is on point. Stripe action is on point. All I can do is be like the crazy person and have the dormant stripe action. And I gotta tell you guys, I feel a little bit weird because when I take the mower out this time of year, and obviously I'm the only one out in the neighborhood that's mowing the lawn right now. It's like, people drive by, they kind of like, they slow and they look and they're like, oh, well, yeah, it's Ron. He's just doing his crazy stuff. But I'm the only one. The Aerate makes it a little bit better because it's so quiet. I can kind of like do like a stealth mow, in the back lawn. No one really hears it. But yeah, I'm definitely that guy mowing, semi-dormant or mostly dormant grass just because I want my stripes just to look good. All right, next up is Lavendi. He says, good evening. Would I be wasting time and money by continuing to put down humic acid and root growth stimulant during the winter here in North Florida? I wouldn't say necessarily you're wasting your time, but if you think about it, right, a lot of those products like humic acid, I don't know what's in the root, the RGS product, but a lot of those products attempt to increase microbial activity, attempt to increase the amount of food that microbes have in the soil, right, which is a good thing, but that is closely tied, or the amount of activities tied to soil temperature. So a good example, right? If you take Milorganite, and if you can read the label for it, or you look at the best time to apply it, really you want to apply the Milorganite when your soil temps are like 55 degrees or higher. Warmer is better, in other words, because it takes it allows the engine that takes the fertilizer in the form that's not really usable by the grass to be broken down and then made into a form of nitrate that the grass can take up. So can you put down humic acid this time of year? Yes. Are you going to get as much benefit out of it as you would in the springtime? No, not really. And unless your lawn is staying green, I don't know what kind of grass you have. You said you're in North Florida, but unless your grass is staying green throughout that time of year, I don't know what a lot of the benefit that you're going to be getting on it. It's not like doing a granular product, right? Like that's why you guys hear about me always talk about doing Essential G year round, because the compost that's in there stays in the soil for a relatively long time. The biochar stays in the soil for a very long time. And it's something you can build up over time. So there's not really any negative to doing it year round, as long as you happen to live somewhere where the ground doesn't freeze, right? Humic acid, I'm not convinced that it's worth it. In my mind, you're getting less out of it than if you wait till the springtime. Again, it's not going to hurt anything. If you want to do it, go ahead and do it. But it's not. I don't think you're going to see the benefits that you definitely would versus if you waited till spring. Whereas, like if you take Essential G, right, and you apply that now, or you apply it in the spring, it's not, it doesn't necessarily go away like a liquid product or like the humic acid that you're putting in will. So I just, for me, if you had your humic acid in like a granular, like that'd be totally good with that. Like that would be fine. But if you're talking about spraying it, I think there's not as much value this time of year as you would as applying it in the when temps are warmer. But up to you. You're not going to hurt the grass if you do it. So if you got to scratch that itch, by all means get out there and go spray. Good question, Lavendi. All right, next up is Higgy Pop. He says, "Hey Ron, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Higgy Pop. I appreciate it. Hopefully you're doing well, sir. Hopefully you're doing well." And then next up is Mr. VMH, Mr. Captain Crabgrass No More, saying, "Hey Ron, happy Thanksgiving, happy Friday and Thanksgiving. I appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving to you, VMH. Hopefully you're doing well. And I think you're in Texas, right? In Texas. I haven't looked at the temps there, but hopefully you guys are not freezing." All right, next is Mr. Cedric G. So he has this question about spurge. He says, "Actually, I do have a question." So you said, "Yeah, now no question," and now you're jumping to the front of the line and trying to get a question in, Cedric. What's up with that? He says, "I am having a spurge challenge in my flower bed. I've dealt with the same thing. What would you recommend to zap it and not kill my flowers?" Well, I can tell you what I use. I use Celsius. This is what I use on spurge throughout my lawn and in the beds. I use Celsius for it. You can probably use like a three-way as well. That will work too. But Celsius does a really good job. As far as it not killing your flowers, just don't spray your flowers. Like keep it off. Like you don't spray the stuff that you don't want, that you're not trying to treat. So what I would say is you get some Celsius, get yourself a surfactant and some dye, and just spray the plant you're trying to target. Like don't blanket spray the entire bed, and you should be just fine. There shouldn't be an issue with that at all. If you're really trying to minimize overspray, if you're really worried about it, get a piece of cardboard. We did this at Real Rollers when we were preparing the Bermuda plot for the turf park party. They had some grass, the Bermuda, that was growing outside of like the area that had edged off. And because we wanted to really not take a chance of getting any fusilade or glyphosate on the grass you wanted to keep, just took a piece of cardboard and just lay it down in between and just spray and hit the stuff that you want. And that way, that any overspray goes on the cardboard, stays off the grass, and it worked great. Did a great job. So that's the only thing I would say, Cedric. Spurge is not a very difficult weed to kill. There's a lot of different products that will do it. Again, I use Celsius. This is what I use because I already have it. And it does a great job. Like Celsius burns spurge to a crisp. It turns does a really good job against it. Does a good job against a lot of different weeds, but again, spurge is particularly effective as well. Again, we got it in stock at the Golf Course Lawn Store. Assuming you don't have any, knowing you probably do have some, but that is what I would do because that's what I use. Just make sure you just don't get it on the flowers. Just be careful about when you're spraying it. You should be just fine. All right, next up is Mr. Chris Howard. He's question. Obviously, he is a Crimson Tide fan by his avatar. I'm just playing, man. Go Dogs. He says, "Advice on amending red Georgia clay. Been applying Carbon Pro G once a month and looking at Humic 12 maybe." Those are both great. So you can do Carbon Pro G. That if you can afford to keep doing that, by all means keep doing that. Humic 12 I've never really used, but I have no reason to think that it's not going to help as well. In other words, it's not going to hurt anything. So if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. If you want to really get more, I guess, particular about really amending your soil and ensuring that in addition to putting down biostimulants like Carbon Pro G, like the Humic 12 product you're talking about, and other like some of the other biostimulants like from Miramichi Green, is one thing I would say is to get a soil test done. I mean, I know I always preach this, but the reason why is like this is literally like the best $30 you can spend on your lawn. Like you get this, it literally will give you the answers to the test as far as any other amendments, such as where your soil pH is. So around here, a lot of lawn care services this time of year, well, really about a month ago they were doing it. They're applying lime on the to lawns, right? Because our soil tends to, at least in my area, tends to trend more acidic over time. So whereas Carbon Pro G will help with that some, really you want to use a lime product. So I would say, a soil test is going to tell you, in addition to NPK and your micronutrients, like what you need to do as far as like putting together your fertilizer program for the upcoming season. But as far as finding out about what your pH levels are, this is valuable. It's money for doing that. And the reason why is unlike like NPK, pH, depending on where you're starting, can take a while to adjust, take a while to change. So let's say you did a soil test, right? And then your pH is in the low fives. If you got that information, that data now, you can start applying lime, begin amending the soil. Again, I'm assuming you're in Georgia, so we don't really get like super hard freezes where the ground stays frozen and you're not able to apply lime. And then you've got, December, January, February, really 3 to 4 months for that lime to react with the soil and help bring pH levels up, which is going to really improve the effectiveness of your fertilizer. So in addition to what you're already doing, Carbon Pro G once a month, love it. Keep it up. Humic 12, if you want to do that once a month, love it, by all means. But also consider doing a soil test. You only have to do this. You can do this now, and then the data you get from it will let you know if you need to apply any kind of lime or anything else, and also will give you a heads up as far as what you can do for your main fertilizer program in 2023. So that's the only other thing I would say. We do carry it. I'll show you right real quick here. We do carry a couple different options on the Golf Course Lawn Store. So go to shop, and then soil test kits and pH adjustments. The one I would say to get if you don't have one, so there's just the regular kit, which is this, and then there is the kit that comes with the probe. And this thing is one of the most over-engineered lawn tools out there, really like mine. It makes it super easy for you to collect samples, which I like easy, so that's a good investment. You only have to buy this once. So if you buy this and you get the combo that has both the test kit and this, going forward, if you decide you're going to do a test in the spring or one next fall, you only have to buy the test from there on out because you've got the tool. So the first time I would say get both of these, and we have that there in the starter pack. But then afterwards, just get the soil test kit, and then you're good to go. If you want, you get the Pro Pack, which has 1 probe and 2 test kits, and that'll cover you pretty much for the 2023 growing season. So. Good job, Chris. Looks like you're, I like where your mind's going, sir, as far as, work on focusing on creating great soil, because awesome grass, great looking grass is a byproduct of awesome soil. So good stuff. If you need anything else, let me know. And yeah, definitely get that soil test, and figure out what's going on. And then from there, you should be good to go. Spring will be here before you know it. So get on that. Next up is Mr. Sunny Bermuda. He says, "Hey, Ron, hope you had a great Thanksgiving." I did. It's pretty boring. Didn't do a whole lot. Just hung out and, did a whole lot of nothing, which is good. Watched some football. I watched the World Cup, obviously, and then I watched a little bit of NFL, but mainly just watched the World Cup. And yeah, it's a good time. It's a great time to be watching if you're into soccer. I mean, it's like once every 4 years, and we'll see how how it plays out. USA did pretty good today against England. They tied with them, which you almost could count that as a win. And then France, which probably one of my more favorite. France and Brazil is probably one of my more favorite teams. They are still doing well, so we'll see how it works out. All right, next up is Devin. He chimes in. He says, "I agree with Ron Robert. Just use Syngenta Headway G. Put it down and allow your lawn to absorb the fungicide. It may take a few weeks, and it'll correct the issue." Yep, that's the thing. Thanks, Devin. I really appreciate that. I mean, the thing with fungicide, and it's probably my fault, right? And probably in some ways, maybe several of us YouTubers are at blame for this, in that people will have a lawn problem, have like large patch or brown patch, something like that going on their lawn. And they'll say, "Well, I bought a fungicide and I put it down and it didn't green right back up." It's not, it didn't air quotes cure the problem in a week or two. And that's just not the way it works. Like, the idea behind putting down fungicide is going to stop. It's going to stop it from getting any worse. And then which will allow your grass to heal and grow back in. Like, good example, like last year, was it last year? Last year, I decided to do an experiment where I would water the front lawn every day, which if you've ever decided to do that, just don't. And I ended up having a Pythium outbreak, right? I have a problem with Pythium in my front lawn. Now, Headway is not labeled to stop an actual, it doesn't target Pythium directly. It's not like a contact fungicide that will actually kill Pythium. But what it will do as a way to suppress it, to prevent it from developing, it is effective for that. So what I did last year, instead of using what is the fungicide? I think it's called Subdue. Subdue, I believe, is the one that's Syngenta brand. I forget the actual active ingredient, but there is a specific fungicide that you can use for targeting Pythium if you're trying to target it directly, right? What I did instead is, I had Headway. I applied that. I stopped watering like a crazy person, and then, believe it or not, I did a very light nitrogen app, like an out of cycle nitrogen app, to help stimulate, to help push a little extra growth by using the headway to prevent the spread, the Pythium from getting any worse. And then that little bit of nitrogen, that little nitrogen kicker that I gave the lawn, it healed up really nicely in a couple of weeks. So the thing you have to keep in mind when you're applying fungicides, unless you're using like a contact one like Subdue, is that what you're really doing is you're stopping it from getting any worse, which is going to allow your lawn to recover. So yeah, definitely. I mean, apply it, and then and I cover in the video, like you apply it, water it in, because if it's being the ground, you're gonna have to have it get down in the soil so you can begin working, and then just patience, just wait. The only other thing I would say too, Robert, is if you are still mowing, if you're still mowing, I would mow the areas that have the disease last, and if you can, clean the mower, like rinse the mower off after you're done. So like when I had the Pythium problem in the front lawn, I typically mow the front lawn last anyway, but I would mow the entire back lawn, do the swale area, and then the front lawn is what I would mow last, because that way I wasn't like running over the stuff and then spreading it to other areas of the lawn. So just something to keep in mind. I know it's this time of year where you're not probably doing a ton of mowing, but if you still want to get out there and get a mow in, mow the areas that are affected with the lawn disease last if you can, and then clean the mower when you are done. All right, next up is Sunny Bermuda. He says Dwayne's Overseed looks nice. It does. It looks pretty fire, right? It does look really good. I agree. And then actually, Devin's up next. He's another comment. He says, be sure to water it in. Great minds think alike. Be sure to water it in. May sound crazy to water extra with the disease to get the fungicide into the soil, but it'll help big time to elevate the problem. All right, so definitely water it in, but to Devin's point, because it's got to you can't just apply it and just let it sit there. It needs to get in the soil to begin working. So, great extra tip there, Devin. I really appreciate it. It's good, man. I actually like this time of year because you're not out like doing the golf course thing, the thing that actually makes you money and like supports your livelihood. You can come hang out with us, right? Purely selfish on my part. All right. Next is Doug 350Z Twin Turbo. He says, no turkey for me. I had ham, curry goat, and oxtail. See, now that's a Thanksgiving dinner I can get behind. Some oxtail, curry goat, some callaloo. If any of you guys are Trinidadian, y'all know what callaloo is. Callaloo is one of those foods that if you look at it, if you don't know what it is and you look at it, you're like, that looks absolutely disgusting, but it's so good. It's like okra. It's okra. My grandmother would put crab in it. It's good stuff. Callaloo, so spinach, okra. I think it's spinach, okra, and then you can mix it up and add other things to it, however you see fit. But that's like an island dish that I don't get to have that much up here because you can't go to many restaurants that can actually carry it or make it. But yeah, man, good job on the oxtail and curry goat. All right, Tony Israel is up next. He says, hey, Ron, hope you and your audience enjoyed Thanksgiving. What do you recommend for weed control in Bermuda grass during dormancy? Great question, Tony. It depends on the weed you're targeting. So if you this time of year, I'd say what you're probably going to start seeing in your lawn, depending on how you did your timing for your pre-emergent application, is a nasty weed called Poanua, also known as annual bluegrass. If that's what you're dealing with in your lawn, I've got like tons of videos on POA. The herbicide that I would recommend for Bermuda is one called Certainty. This is very, very effective against annual bluegrass. It's also great against sedges. Like sedges is what Certainty is really known for, but it's also very effective against Poanua, which is likely what you're going to be seeing in your lawn around this time of year. So yeah, if you don't have any of this, pick this up. This is a great post-emergent for POA. And then in the spring or summertime, whenever it gets warmer and sedges begin rearing their ugly head again, this will also work for that as well. So it's not like you're buying this and you can only use it just for POA. And it's only like a once, in other words, it's not only limited to cool weather times of the year. It can be used pretty much year round. Same thing for Celsius. Like if you're dealing with spurge in your lawn this time of year, you can use Celsius. Keep in mind, though, that with the temperatures being cooler, these are going to take a little bit longer to work, but they will work. I mean, it's not like they're not effective. It just takes them a bit longer to work with the temperatures being cooler. So If you want them, we carry them at the golf course lawn store. And if you're looking to save a little bit of money, you can get a kit. So we have a kit both for warm season grass, one for cool season grass. The warm season grass kit contains Celsius, Certainty, surfactant, and marker dye. So instead of having to add 4 items to your cart, which is, let's just face it, it's more work, like 4 clicks, perhaps more than 4 clicks, but 4 clicks versus just 1, and save yourself a little bit of money. That's one way to go. But I mean, more than likely, if you had to buy one for this time of year, Certainty is what I would go with, and then you can pick up some Celsius next year if you want, or if you're just trying to stock up and just save, you can get the kit and you have everything you need pretty much for warm season grass. The only thing that I would say outside of Celsius and Certainty that you would want as far as herbicides for Bermuda goes is if you're dealing with like a lot of mature crabgrass in your lawn, which really, if you're doing pre-emergent, that shouldn't be a problem. But if that's the case, then getting some quinclorac would be the other thing that I would add to your arsenal. But really, between these two, Celsius and Certainty, this is going to cover the majority of weeds you're going to have in your lawn. And this one is the one you'll be using primarily this time of year. So hope that helps, Tony. Again, we got them all in stock at the store. You can get them individually, a la carte, or you can get them all in a kit. And however way you want it, kind of like Burger King. You can have it your way. So hope that helps, sir. If you need anything else, definitely let me know. Hopefully you did your pre-emergence, so you're not dealing with too many weeds in your lawn this time of year. Hopefully that's the case. All right, Jackie Bear says, duck is the way to go for me. Okay, I could see that. Duck, here's the thing with duck. I've only had it one time where I actually liked it, because it tends to be the few times, I haven't had duck a ton of times. I've probably had duck less than 10 times my entire life. So like my view on duck is probably not a very educated one, because I've only had it like out of the 10 times. There's only one time I've ever had it when I liked it, and it was at a really nice Szechuan, like a Chinese place. It was the way they did it was really good. But most of the time for me, it's kind of oily for my taste. So, but again, I just don't eat it often enough to probably develop a taste for it. So that's my thing. All right, Devin is up next. He says, the current state of my future lawn is a dirt plot. That's good, man. Think about it. You have like an empty canvas. He says, we should probably do a mini series from taking it from dirt to a 3-inch kind of cut. Could be cool if you're interested. I'm definitely interested. I'm down. Let's do it. Let's absolutely do it. Yeah, dude. I mean, if you want to, if you have the time to to film it or whatever, and then also just if you want to, send out pictures, or you just want to get on the live stream and talk about it and show off stuff, I am absolutely down for that. People love lawn transformations, so it'd be interesting to hear to see that being done on a cool season lawn, right? Because I've got like a video series. I got a couple video series on doing that with Bermuda. But I imagine you're going to be doing cool season grass, so it'd be cool to put something like that together and show it off to everyone. And plus, with you being a pro, it'd be interesting to see what your approach is. It might be interesting. You probably use less stuff than we do. You might use a different set of products. Maybe the way you prep the bed, like to do the seeding, would be different. So yeah, absolutely. Personally, I would watch it. I don't even have cool season grass, and I'd be interested in seeing it. So absolutely, if you're down, I am down to show that off and help out in any way that I can. Sounds pretty cool. That's actually nice, man. I mean, starting with like just a raw dirt plot, man, so many options. All right, next up is Mr. John Dugan. He says, no picks tonight. My lawn is under 55 inches of snow. Good grief. That sounds horrible. 55 inches? That's almost 5 feet. Yeah, 5 feet. Yeah, it's almost, because 16 inches is 5 feet. That's a lot, man. Where do you live? We may have to reconsider. You come to the state of Georgia. It's just pretty warm here. We've got pretty mild everything. Other than summer's kind of hot, but overall, we definitely don't get 55 inches of snow. I mean, the state would probably cease to exist if we got 2 feet of snow in Georgia. If you got a foot of snow in Georgia, that would be bad. I'm not even going to go up to 55 inches. It would be absolutely horrible. But I'm sorry you're dealing with that, John. I'm sure you probably have some really nice snowmen and snow girls or ladies or whatever you're making in the lawn right now. And yeah, but you're definitely not applying anything to the lawn this time of year. All right, Doug 350Z is back, says, Ron, dormant or not, your stripe action's on point. I appreciate that, man. I have to try and salvage the small wins while I wait for it to get warm, which again, it's going to be here before we know it. A few months from now, weather will turn, and I'll be doing pre-emergent. I'll be doing my February pre-emergent, even though a lot of people on YouTube tell me I'm wrong. Like, you're wrong. Why are you doing it so early? But you know what? I don't have weeds in my lawn. Just like the same people that said, why are you doing your fall pre-emergent like early September? It's way too early. I don't have any POA in my lawn though, compared to people that waited till like the end of September to do it. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm trying to also plan out my content calendar to make it to have like think about what kind of videos I'm going to make. Try and make it interesting and fun for you guys to watch. That's a challenge. There's only so much stuff you can talk about when it comes to lawn care, but what I can do is I can make it better. So I can make a previous content better. That's the goal. Better being how I see better, and it doesn't necessarily mean you guys might find it that way. Now, guys, we are about half an hour into this, and if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like button for me, it doesn't cost anything. It's a free way to support the channel. I've been talking about Celsius, the kits, all this kind of stuff. All that stuff costs money. And if you need them and you want to support the store, I absolutely appreciate it. But another way you can support the channel and cost you absolutely nothing, and you're already here. All you got to do is just move the mouse over and hit that like button. Absolutely free. And while I take a sip of guys, tonight I'm going highbrow. I got some Chick-fil-A lemonade. On the way home, I stopped and picked some up. So I'm living that good life right now. So I'm drinking the good stuff tonight. It's Thanksgiving, right? May as well. Gotta step it up. Oh, that's literally my first drink, my first pull of it. Oh, man, they make a good lemonade. All right, next up is Mr. Orange Duke. He says, greetings from Ghana. We are now going into the dry season here. Mowing, weeds control, and grass and green lawn tips for St. Augustine here. Please, thanks. Okay, so you're going to the dry season. So you got mowing, you have weed control, and tips for keeping your lawn green. Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of the stuff I'm gonna recommend to you. Let's talk about like the cultural stuff you can do that doesn't matter where in the world you are. So keeping up with your mowing, you already covered that. Getting out there and mowing, if you can. I'm a fan of mowing at least twice a week. Now I know that sounds crazy, but the thing, like say you do everything that I tell you to do, right? As far as like, you do your soil testing, you use a fertilizer based on your soil test, you have a biostimulant program, you do all those things, you can have great soil, you can have really green grass, but the thing that really sets the appearance of a lawn apart is mowing. You look at a golf course, yeah, they have really good programs, they run tons, they have really good products they're able to use, but the thing that makes the biggest difference between a golf course or a golf course lawn and a regular lawn is the amount of mowing that it gets. You know what I mean? So if you Orange Duke, if you ever look at your lawn and it looks like it needs to be mowed, you waited way too long. So that's thing one. And you can do that no matter where you are in the world. So mow your lawn. If you can, aim for the goal of twice per week is what I would suggest. Next up, as far as weed control, it really depends. I don't know if you can even get herbicides in Ghana, but a great way to not have to buy stuff like Celsius or Certainty is to use a specialized herbicide called pre-emergent. And pre-emergent is kind of like what it sounds like. It is a specialized herbicide that a lot of them work in different ways, but most of them work by negatively allowing the root or the weed to grow roots. So whenever it gets warm enough and the weed starts to try growing and it starts to throw roots down, the pre-emergent will prevent that process, or it'll arrest that process, and it will cause it to die off. Now, I can show you some options that we have here in the States. I don't know if you can get them in Ghana. But I can show you the active ingredients in some of them, so you can look around and see if you can find it. So probably the most common pre-emergent, the active ingredient in it is called prodiamine, and that is going to be on page 2. It's going to be this. It comes in granular form and liquid form, so you can get it a couple of different ways. You can get it in a granular, so you put it in your spreader, you spread that over your lawn, water it in, or you can get it in, it's not really liquid form, it's in a water dispersible granule, which is like, you can think of it as like these little small yellow pellets that you weigh out very, very precisely on a scale, mix that with a specified amount of water, and then spray that on your lawn and water it in, and it does the same thing as the granular. So the granular is a little bit easier. The water dispersible granule version of prodiamine gives you more control over application rate. You tend to get more for your money if you go with the water dispersible granule, but it is more work because you need a backpack sprayer, you need a scale. That part's not that expensive, that difficult to do, and you have to pay attention more when you're doing the liquid version versus doing the granular version. Another option is to use a product called dithiopyr, or a pre-emergent with active ingredient called dithiopyr. I'm a big fan of this for the springtime. Here's why. The dithiopyr, unlike prodiamine, has the ability to kill young crabgrass in your lawn. So you think about whenever crabgrass begins germinating, when soil temperatures get to be around 55 degrees, whereas prodiamine will prevent crabgrass from growing. Let's say you're a little bit late and there's already some baby crabgrass that's starting to germinate. Prodiamine is not going to do a whole lot against that. But when it comes to dithiopyr, it has the ability to kill young crabgrass. So what I would say is shop around if there's any kind of garden supply stores or places that will sell lawn care chemicals. Look for the active ingredient dithiopyr or the active ingredient prodiamine. That's going to do a lot for you as far as keeping weeds out of your lawn, preventing weeds from getting in your lawn. Now, as far as herbicides, if you can get the best combination, in my opinion, for warm season grass, or like that I like, is to use Celsius and Certainty. If there's a distributor there in Ghana that carries it, that's what I would say to get. We can't ship it to you. I mean, plus shipping would be probably cost prohibitive. It probably costs as much to ship the product as the price of the product. So if you can find either one of these, either or both of these there, that's a good option, because Celsius and Certainty cover a broad range of weeds that you will find in warm season grass, and they are both safe for your St. Augustine. And then the other thing I could say is, as far as tips for keeping your lawn green, keeping water on it matters. So if you have the ability to water, I realize it's the dry season. If you have the ability to water, that's going to help. Making sure that you apply the correct amount of fertilizer for it while it's actively growing is going to help. And then if you can find a moisture manager, because if you have dry weather there, right? So you're probably not going to be able to get Hydrotain, or I know you can't get it from me, but if you can find a product similar to this, if you go to like your local garden place and you say, hey, could you have anything that's kind of like this? They might be able to help you out. So you go to shop and then soil moisture management. And what you have here are Hydrotain. And what this does is it allows the little bit of water that you may have, the rainfall that you get, it allows it to go further. So as far as a lawn that has Hydrotain versus a lawn that does not have Hydrotain, the lawn without it will dry out faster. The grass will dry out faster. It will see heat stress faster than a lawn that does have Hydrotain or a moisture manager. So if you can't find Hydrotain, just ask them for a moisture manager. So between pre-emergent, and then if you need some post-emergent herbicides, Celsius and Certainty, and then a moisture manager like Hydrotain, that's going to allow you to get the most out of any rainfall you get and also any water that you put on the lawn. And I think that's pretty much it. Outside of that, just mow it. Mow it, and that's going to do a lot for getting a great looking lawn. Make sure that your equipment is nice and sharp. That's important. So St. Augustine, you tend to mow it taller, so you're probably using a rotary mower, I imagine. But make sure that the blade you're using is sharp. That's a big important part to, one, getting a better cut, and also reducing the chances of you getting diseases and that kind of thing in the lawn. Kind of like if you were you got cut yourself. Like if you take you get a wound that's all kind of gashed up and really nasty looking, like where it's like you cut. In other words, if you got cut with a serrated knife, like that is a harder wound to heal than a cut with a very sharp, like a straight bladed knife. Same thing with your grass. But every time you cut the grass, you're injuring it. So using a sharp mower, a sharp blade, is going to do less damage and is going to allow your lawn to stay green while also reducing the likelihood of you having disease problems in your lawn. So hope that helps. I threw a lot at you, and unfortunately I'm not able to send you a lot of the stuff that would help, but hopefully you can go to the store and find somewhere locally to say, hey, what do you have that's the equivalent to this? And I imagine you should be able to find something. I mean, there's some really nice lawns, I'm sure, in Ghana, and they're likely using products of some sort to help supplement, their culture practices, their mowing and whatnot. So hope that helps. Sonny Bermuda says, stealth mow. I feel odd mowing dormant grass too. Yeah, man. I mean, come on. It's not bad. Like, mowing this time of year, you feel more weird, Sonny, than like in the springtime. Like in the springtime, when it gets to be like, February or so, and I crank up my mower, I start doing my scalping. They're like, oh, okay, game on. The rest of the neighbors are saying, oh, it's time to start doing it. Ron's out there with a mower. But now, when the lawn is obviously not growing and is going from green to not growing, you just, not that I ever feel a little guilty when I'm out there mowing or feel like the crazy person, but if there's ever a time of year when I feel a little bit crazy when I'm out mowing the lawn, it's like right now. you know, so stealth mode from the outlet is good because I can get out there and just, no one really hears it. And I still get my stripe action. All right, Archie Amos is up next. This evening, young man, just checking in. Keep up the good work. I appreciate it, Archie. I know it's a time of year when grass isn't really growing that much, so I'm still doing the live streams. I'm also filming a piece of content, so I'm gonna be editing that hopefully over the weekend and get it out. It's probably not gonna be tomorrow. I'm not gonna have time after the show tonight to finish it up, I don't think. But look for it maybe Sunday. You know, a lot of the things we spoke about tonight are gonna be in that video. So if you guys, don't like me jibber jabbering on for hours and hours, just want the concise, the tightened down, the Cliff Notes version that's just as good, be sure to check out the video that should come out here in a few days. And if you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, guys, please subscribe. It's a great, it is kind of a vanity metric, but let's face it, I spend entirely too much time working on my lawn to have the greenest lawn in the neighborhood, to have the tightest cut grass. So yeah, I'm gonna say it, I'm a little bit vain. So I would like to grow my subscriber counts. If you guys are often watching the channel and you're not a subscriber, please consider doing so. It does mean a lot. All right, Two Chulos up next. He says, "Hey Ron, and happy Friday, everyone. For some reason, it doesn't feel like Friday." Yeah, it doesn't. You know what's weird is that I work so much. I work all the time. Like I can't tell you the last time I took. Actually, I can't tell you the last time I took a week off. The last time I did not work for more than a week at a time. Was when I went to Tokyo in 2019. Since then, I've never taken more than a couple of days off, like ever. So it just feels, every time there's like a few days when literally there's nothing happening, it feels weird. Like time just slows down. I'm like, man, so this is what being retired feels like. You just kind of wake up in the morning and watch TV, watch YouTube videos and just, mow your lawn, do whatever you want to do. This is kind of nice. It would drive me crazy after a while, but yeah, it doesn't feel like Friday for sure. We got 2 more days too before the work week starts again. Imagine that. All right, Joseph Robert says, "Any word on Humic Max for the spring?" Still working on it. The big thing, Joe, is pricing. Like as far as a place to keep it, like shipping, like all the logistics, all that kind of stuff, I got that all worked out. But it's just the pricing has to be right. Unless you guys tell me you want to pay $80 for a bag of fertilizer, which I don't think you do. Humic Max is an awesome product, but that's like, the cost of everything has gone up, and I'm trying to get it at a price such that it makes sense for you. It makes sense for me. It makes sense for you guys. As awesome as it is, it still just has to make sense to to the viewers. So I'm still working on it. I'm gonna see what I can do, and we'll go from there. But it's still in the pipeline. You're very welcome, Chris. I'm glad that you found it useful. Yeah, because a lot of times people will, they'll put down Carbon Pro G or Essential G, which is great, and put down other biostimulants, also really good. But man, I tell you, best $30 you will spend on your lawn. Literally, it's the answers to the test as far as what you should apply and for what reason. We got Daryl in the house, Mr. Fairway Bermuda. He says, "What's up, Ron and everybody? Thanksgiving was great. I had a chance to hook up my rotary scissors for next season." So wait, you got a set of rotary scissors and you got a chance to put it together? You try it out? Test it out yet? I haven't seen anything on the channel. Did I miss it? This type of post is useless without video, Daryl. So, I'm sure there's parts of your lawn that need edging. You can break it out. Here's the thing. It's almost irresponsible for you to not try it out, because you don't want to have it sitting there in the garage thinking, I put it together, it's all good to go. And then maybe there's something loose or whatever. And next year you go to fire it up to go actually do work with it, and it's not ready. You got to make adjustments. So I think you owe it to yourself and to us and to the people of YouTube to at least do a short video showing off the new rotary scissors and you using it. I think so. It's not too much to ask, right? Plus, this is an idea for some content, which is always good. All right, No Name is up next. He says, "Hey, Ron and fellow lawn enthusiasts. My lawn is finally dormant, so I don't feel so bad now. So I'll mow it tomorrow. Anyone else doing lawn work this holiday weekend?" No, I'm trying to think. Am I doing anything this holiday weekend? I filmed some content. Like I did some of that today. I filmed a piece of content today. And you know what? I probably should do Essential G this weekend, because December is going to be here. December is going to be here in the middle of next week. So I can just get that done. I got to see if there's any rain in the forecast. But yeah, I could do that. I could throw on some ESG on the lawn. That's always something I could do for sure. No Name. But yeah, nothing else. But the thing is, if I'm going to do Essential G, then I have to mow. So I probably will mow and then do Essential G, and then that will be it. So there you go. You see, you've done it to me. Now you've now put some work on me now. I wasn't going to do it, but now you brought it up. Now I got to go break the outlet out and go out there and mow and get it all dirty all over again. All right, I appreciate that, Daryl. Yeah, definitely hit that like button. It's free, doesn't cost anything, and it's a great way to support the channel. David Quigley's up next. He says, hey, Ron, question regarding scalping. How much damage does this do to the reel? A lot. A lot. I mean, okay, so I should say this. It depends on how aggressive you go with it, right? If you scalp to the point, if you are, okay, I'll give you an example, a situation. We'll talk about a couple different scenarios. So scenario one, if you say you normally mow your lawn at, say, 2 inches, which is kind of high for Bermuda, but so you mow it at 2 inches normally, and you are taking it down to 1.5 inches. That, if you were doing that with a reel mower, probably the best tool for it, but if you do that with a reel mower, you're not going to likely do a ton of damage to the reel because you are staying well out of any thatch, out of any dirt. You're not getting, pretty much the only thing you're going to be cutting is grass. So while you are cutting off a lot of material, you are only cutting grass, so it's not going to be quite so bad. Now, let's talk about scenario two, which is typically what I do and what most people think about when they think about scalping a lawn, where you get down, down into the, as BYD likes to call it, down in the white meat. You cut down really, you get down really, really low. So you're cutting at, 1/2 inch thereabouts, and you are getting into, if not the soil, you're definitely getting into some thicker material like thatch and other debris. And that's really hard on the reel. Like literally after doing that, you could start with a sharp reel and then scalp your lawn. Like I could start with a razor sharp reel, scalp my entire lawn that low to where I'm, occasionally touching the soil or getting into the thatch. And by the time I'm done, I'm going to have to get it sharpened again. I'm going to get it touched up. So it is very hard on it depending on how aggressive you're going. Here's what I would say. If you have a rotary mower, use a rotary mower. Like the grass doesn't know that it's being cut with or cut super short with a reel mower or being cut super short with a rotary mower. Like if you have a rotary mower, use that for it. Like, I mean, that's frankly, a rotary mower blade is a lot less expensive to replace and a lot less time consuming to replace versus taking the reel out or taking the entire mower out, sending it off, getting it sharpened and bringing it back. So if you have a rotary, use that. I don't, so I use my True Cut. But what you'll find is like my Green Smash recently sent that out to get sharpened, but the Owlet is already sharp for it's sharpened at the end of the season. So next year it's already good to go. So I will not scalp with it, but the True Cut I have not sharpened since this past spring. So it's going to stay exactly the way it is. I'll scalp the lawn with it next spring, and then it will go in for a sharpen. So if you're going to use your reel mower, David, I would say definitely plan for getting the mower freshened up afterwards. It may not need a grind, but it's going to need at least a back lap to put a nice edge back on the reel if you decide to use it for scalping. So yeah, it is pretty hard on it and hard on the equipment. So if you got something cheaper you can use, then I would say go that route. All right, Devin is up next. He says, yep, you're right. A Subdue is awesome, but so expensive. Oh, the active ingredient is mefenoxam. Is mefenoxam. Use it in New York on our greens when it worked out there. Cool, yeah. So I knew it was Subdue, and I forget what the active ingredient was. Yeah, and you're right, because I remember when I was looking at Pythium, because I was doing a video on it, right? But first I was doing just an experiment on watering the lawn every day and just to see what would happen. And again, I would tell you, like, don't do that. Or in my case, I did not have a good result. Some of you guys probably do it and you get away with it. My lawn did not like it. And when I looked into Subdue, it was back then, it was like $180 for this stuff. I have no idea what it costs now. Let me see. Make sure I'm not lying to you guys, but it's not, they are proud of it. I'm sure it's a great fungicide, but oh Lord. Yep. Yeah. So it's gone up. So it's around the same thing, going up for like $5. I remember like 180 last year, and now it's like 190. So if you want to check it out, I'll show you guys real quick. So this, if you were trying to use an actual contact fungicide to kill that is designed to target Pythium, you could use Subdue. Like this is, as far as going after Pythium, this is what you want. And for the small one, the 32 ounce, which is more than enough for a home lawn, you're going to be spending $190 for that. Or you could just simply stop watering your lawn like a crazy person and put down like something like do what I did, use like Headway and use Saxastrobin and propiconazole. That as a preventive, it is helpful. And just give it time and the lawn will heal from it. In other words, it's kind of like most things. Like you want to, while you can use products to target the problem, a better way to go, in my opinion, is to change the conditions that are causing the problem to be there in the first place. You know what I mean? So yes, while you can go out and buy a lot of different herbicides and like have an entire like arsenal of post-emergent herbicides, like better just to prevent weeds in the first place, right? Like use like a pre-emergent and then not have conditions where not create conditions where weeds will thrive. Like don't let your grass get super tall, mow it regularly, use the proper type of fertilizer. Like all those things add up to helping you like promote the growth of the crop that you want, which is grass, and negatively impact the stuff that we don't want, like the weeds, right? So same thing with when it comes to fungicides. It's really in my opinion better to just to be careful as far as to not overwater, don't over fertilize. Make sure you use sharp equipment when you cut the grass to minimize injury. And if you do that, you could typically get away with a preventative fungicide in the early spring, and then I like to do one in the fall, this time of year for spring dead spot, and then you should be really good. You know what I mean? And to Devin's point, the Subdue is a good product, but it's expensive, and you will tend to find that like it is cheaper. It is cheaper to prevent the problem in the first place than try and solve it after the fact. Like a bag of pre-emergent is like $60, $70, right? Shipped to your door. Whereas you look at like what Celsius goes for, because the price of it's gone up, it's like $150 now. It's expensive. It's going to get more expensive over time. So it's much cheaper to prevent weeds in the first place, or to minimize weeds using pre-emergent and your cultural practices, than say I'm just going to let weeds grow and then I'm going to go out and get like a post-emergent herbicide and to take care of them that way. Plus it's also better for the environment to not have to spray herbicides all the time. So there is that. But I appreciate it, Devin. Mefenoxam. That's I have to remember that. I knew it was subdued. I did not remember what the active ingredient in it was. So thanks for coming through, sir. I appreciate you. Next up is Austin Ostreicher. He says, is there any benefit to putting humic on the lawn while it's dormant? It does not hurt anything, but you don't get as much benefit as you would when soil temperatures are warmer. If you're going to do it, I would lean more towards a granular product than a liquid, if at all possible. So a good example is in Essential G, there is humate. It's like, how much humate? It's like 5% humate. It's not a ton, but there's some humate in that. Like that I've applied every month since I started using it, right? So that's something I do every single month. But like my liquid carbon kit, so like for example, what do I have here? So like, where do I have it? Yeah, so like Release Zero and NutriKelp. So these are like great, awesome biostimulants, right? I use these on my lawn from March all the way through September, really October, whenever the grass is actively growing. But I'm not spraying this stuff now because while I can, it's like there's not like one, this stuff's expensive, right? And then you're not going to see the benefit that you would if you waited till when temps are a little bit warmer. So if you want to do biostimulants, stuff that contain humic acid in it, I would lean towards a granular product more so than liquid. That is what I do. But again, if you want to go out and spray it, it's not going to hurt anything. There's literally no negative to it other than your wallet. That's it. That's the only negative to spraying like humic acid. When your lawn's dormant and it's cold out. So, but it's completely up to you. If you got a ton of it and you want to do it, by all means. You want to scratch that itch? By all means, go ahead and do it. You're not going to hurt anything. All right, G Freeze up next says, hey Ron, #Stripe Action Gang. Hope all had a blessed Thanksgiving day. I did. It was quiet, peaceful. It was fun. Did a whole lot of nothing. Got to watch Brazil do their thing. Got to watch the beautiful game. Watch Brazil play some football. I got to say, so far, in my opinion, the French are playing, and I'm a little bit biased. I do like the French national team. I'm an Mbappe fan. So I will say, to me, the French right now are playing the best football. Like if you watch their game, like how they're moving the ball around, a lot of one-touch football, and just the way how they score, and just overall just how they're playing. I think they are going to do well if they continue to they're able to keep that up. Everyone else right now is still kind of getting their legs. But right now, I think the French can do it. So we'll see. All right. Next up is Devin. He says, Austin, you can, so this is Devin chiming in about the humic. He says, Austin, you can apply it, but you won't see much benefit in return. Humates help the lawn absorb nutrients. This is usually when the lawn is growing. I'd wait until you see an initial spring green up. There you go. Case in point. From the man that does this for a living, like literally that's his job. He's like, his whole thing is to keep greens and other grass around. What is the name of your course? The course, was it the flying? It's the club at Flying Horse, I think, in Colorado Springs. This is the course where he's at. So he's telling you the exact same thing. I mean, sure, if you want to, not going to hurt anything, but you're just not going to. In other words, if you, I think you'd be very hard pressed to see the difference if you took one part of your lawn, right? If you took like a control area of your lawn and you were to spray humic acid on it, like whatever interval you use, you do it like every couple of weeks or once a month, however interval you use for applying it. If you're going to do that like now all throughout the time when the lawn is dormant, and then you wait until the springtime to start spraying and the rest of the lawn, I don't think you're really going to see a big difference as far as color, green up, all the benefits, all the things that you really get from humic acid from that standpoint. So, but it's up to you. You're totally your call, but I'm saying not necessarily required. And Devin's also telling you the same thing. Wait till you get that initial green up. But definitely stock up. I would say this: if you have a product that you like, then by all means get it. Like if you like the carbon kit or whatever product you're using for humic acid, like definitely get that stuff. I mean, you can get it and order it and buy it now and have it ready to go, because the price of everything is going up. And I can guarantee you this: it will not be cheaper next year. So it might be the same price, but it's definitely not going to be cheaper. So, and as long as you keep it in a cool, dry place, it'll be just fine. It keeps just fine. All right, No Name is up next. He says, my family had Thanksgiving last Sunday, so I cooked filet and lobster yesterday. See, now that's a Thanksgiving dinner I can get behind. Now, granted, I mean, I'm trying to cut down on how much meat that I eat, but I mean, the filet I could do. Lobster, I'm not a huge fan of lobster because I grew up in the islands, and I know it sounds weird, but I'm not a huge lobster person. But a good filet done medium, not bad. Not bad. So you did that for yourself and the wifey. He says, P.S. I despise turkey and would never have it any other time of year. You know what it is? And again, it's probably just me, No Name. To me, turkey tastes, it's too gamey. You know what I mean? And again, it's like just even the smell of it, the way it smells is just for me, it's kind of off-putting. And now here's the thing: you're talking to a guy that will eat goat and oxtail, which people will say that's very, very gamey. And if you can't like turkey, how can you eat goat? But I love, like, goat meat is really good. But like lamb, same thing. I don't like lamb either, because it's the same thing. It's like when I smell it, it's just too gamey smelling. It's just too not my thing. And for me, turkey's the same way. And I realize that I'm in the minority. I'm sure like probably 90% of the people on here on the live stream love their turkey. And what I'm saying is sacrilegious. And for that, I apologize. I'm just telling you that for me, it's not my jam. Not my jam. All right, next up is Paul Applebaum. I think you're new to the live stream, Paul. If you are, welcome. And if not, welcome back anyway. He says, hey, Ron, after you aerate, do you pick up the plugs? Thanks. Now, this is a question that is seeded with controversy on the realm of YouTube, Paul. There's some people that say whenever you aerate, you absolutely must pick up the plugs. You're committing a cardinal sin. How dare you aerate a lawn and not pick up the plugs? I will tell you, on my lawn, I do not. Here's why. Whenever I aerate, the plugs that come out, because my soil is not like that really thick Georgia clay that will turn into a mini brick when it sits out in the sunlight and dries out, it just breaks down. So I see no need. Like, I spent a lot of time and money putting good like fertilizer in the lawn, putting down all my biostimulants, and when I pull those plugs out, some of that stuff's in there. So I tend to aerate the lawn and I just leave it. I leave the plugs on the lawn, and a week later, you can't even tell they were there. They just break down, and it's like free organic material going right back into the soil. If you have a lawn or a soil that is that's like if you have like that thick red Georgia clay, and you know what I'm talking about if you have it, because literally when you pull the plugs out, a day or two later, they'll get dry, but they'll also get really hard. Those are going to take a while to break down. And if you want to pick those up, you can. But I mean, if you want to leave them alone and have them break down over time, you can do that too. Because a lot of times people will say, well, golf courses, whenever you watch them, they aerate the greens and they pick up all the plugs. And because they do that. I should do that on my lawn. And it's getting realized, like the mission of whenever, like, I mean, I wish Devin were on here because he'd be able to explain it better than I can. But if you think about when a golf course superintendent aerates a green, their thing is they want to relieve compaction, but they also want to get the green back to playing conditions as soon as possible. So they don't have time to aerate the lawn and then just leave the plugs all on there and wait for them to break down over time. So you'll literally watch them. They'll aerate it. They'll literally sweep all the plugs up, and then they'll, right after they're done, they'll top dress it with sand. They'll drag the sand in. They'll brush it in, all with the goal of like doing the cultural practices to help relieve compaction, keep the greens nice and healthy, help with drainage, all those types of things. But the big thing is to get the greens playable as soon as possible, because the members don't pay to have the lawns to have the greens all aerated up and like unusable. They want them. I mean, they realize why it has to be done, but at the same time, their thing is to get the lawns, the greens back in order to where people can play on them again. That's not what you're doing on your lawn. Like, you're not playing golf on your lawn. You're not putting on your lawn. And to me, for most home users, for most people that have residential lawns, like, the benefit of just allowing that organic material just to return to the soil is good. It's a good thing. You know, the only caveat I would say is if you have a soil where the plugs that come out get really hard, they're going to break down over time too, but it'll take longer. If you have like a sacrificial rotary mower that you can run over them with, you can break them up that way, pulverize them. That's an option too. But I wouldn't run over those with a real mower. You know, the really hard ones, I wouldn't do that. So, like most things in life, Paul, the most correct answer is it depends. It depends on what your soil is like, and how picky you are. Some people don't like the idea of having the plugs on the lawn. They think it looks ugly. The little bit of dead grass that sits on the lawn too while you're waiting for that to break down. People don't like that and they want to get it up. If that's you, then pick them up. But I tend to not do that. Another reason why, while I look for the next comment, why I don't pick up plugs is I typically will aerate around the time when I'm going to do a top dressing. So you think about it, I'll aerate the lawn, the plugs are all over the lawn. I'm then going to top dress the entire lawn, and then I have my turf rake that I'm going to drag over the entire lawn. So while I'm doing that, I'm not the turf rake, my my leveling rake, turf rake. I'm thinking about the outlet. I take my leveling rake and I'm going to use that over the entire lawn to work the sand in. That action of working the sand in and leveling things also breaks up plugs in my lawn. So that's why I typically don't do it, because it would be just another step for something that is going to get taken care of as part of the top dressing process. So that's my spiel on as to why I don't do it in my particular case, and hope that helps. So you can decide for you in your case if it's the right thing for you. It is more work, and unless there's a really good reason to do it, I would prefer not to. Next up is Mr. Archie Amos. He says, 55, that's nothing. We got 7 feet in Buffalo, New York area. That is, how do you, if there's 7 feet of snow, where do you even put it? Like, you can't even, like, you can't, if you clean out a driveway, the snow's got to go somewhere. So do you just have like huge mountains of snow, like at the corners of streets or something, or like in, I don't know, I guess you just have like a 1-lane road? Because I can't even imagine how you would get rid of 7 feet of snow. Because anywhere you would put it also has 7 feet of snow. So I imagine there's huge mountains in your area. That sounds absolutely terrible. And the poor grass. Imagine what the poor grass is going to under that. Awful. I can't do it. I got to tell you, I've been to Buffalo before, Archie. It is cool. It's a cool town, but it's but cold. You guys do, the only place that's comparable to Buffalo as far as cold is Chicago. Like, Buffalo and Chicago do cold like nowhere else, man. It gets really cold there. So sorry dealing with all that snow, and hopefully you have somewhere warm to go for the winter months, so you're not having to deal with 7 feet of snow. Two Trillo's up next. He says, let's throw some fertilizer on that like button, guys. Yeah, I appreciate that, Two Trillo. If you guys are here in the live stream and you're enjoying the content, hopefully some of it's educational, and at the minimum, it's got to be entertaining, please hit that like button. It's a great way to support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you feel like subscribing to the channel, I'd appreciate that even more. I realize it's a bigger ask, but the like button, that's low commitment. That's low commitment. Subscribing, I realize it's more, but anyone can hit the like button. It doesn't cost you guys too much to do that. All right, John says he's in Black River, New York. The moles are living it up under there. I know they are. Yeah, so Black River, New York, I don't know where that is, but it just sounds cold. It sounds like you, I guess, river, and it sounds like you're neighbors with Archie. It's like you're not too far from Archie. Is what it sounds like. All right, so Devin is weighing in on the question of picking up plugs. So he says, Paul, Do you reel mow or rotary mow? That's a big deciding factor. If you reel mow, pick them up so you don't blow blades, you don't blow blades or tear the bed knife up. Rotary, no problem. Munching it in. Height of cut is also a big factor. So there you go. So it's another consideration. That is another consideration. So to Devin's point, typically when I aerate, again, it's part of top dressing. So I'm not mowing for a while after that. So it's not like I don't have to worry about it too much. But to his point, yeah, I mean, if you have a rotary mower to run over the plugs with, then by all means do that. But yeah, really rotary mowers, as a general rule, that you should only use a rotary mower to mow grass. And I know the same thing. Sorry, you should use a real mower to mow grass. And I realize the same thing applies to a rotary. People, you guys have this really nice rotary mowers will say, hey, I only mow grass with my mower too. But from a standpoint of like, the cost of the piece of the equipment, the maintenance required, if you tear something up, like you break a chain or a belt or anything like that, there's a lot more expensive pieces of equipment to have to take care of. So even if you could, I don't, I wouldn't. I mean, like I scalp with my True Cut, and it's painful to do that. It hurts me to do it. And literally when I'm done, the poor thing, like they typically have to do a clutch adjustment to it because it's just really hard on it. It's definitely got to be sharpened. So it's just hard on the equipment. Now running over plugs with a real mower isn't quite as bad. I'd say it's not quite as bad or not quite as aggressive as scalping, but it's still bad for it. So I would, to Devin's point, if you have a rotary, use that. If you're doing it part of top dressing, you'll be able to break them down using the leveling rake. But yeah, for me, I tend to not pick them up because I do it when I top dress. All right, next up is Mr. Jason Sewell. He says, I appreciate all you do for us trying to up our yard game. Here's the thing, man. I realize that that's the inner circle. We are the lawn crazies, the people that individually, my goal is that everyone's on this live stream, like you're going to have the lawn on your street. So when people drive by, they're going to be like, oh, there it is. There's Jason. Oh, yeah, on the lawn again. His lawn does look the best. You want to be that guy or that gal in your neighborhood. That's my audience. It's not for the people that want to mow their lawn once every 2 weeks or right before they get a letter from the house association. Like that is not my audience. My audience are for the hardcore, the seriously committed, the ones that just want that, that X factor, that lawn that stands out among everyone else's. And it's fun. I like it. It's a lot of fun, right? It's fun chasing something that you just never, that even if you get it, it never stays that way. So like I always say, if I'm lucky, my lawn will look incredible, or what I would consider incredible, for like 2 to 3 weeks out of the year. That's all I really, because if before that, it's still ramping up, and after that it's falling off, or there's areas that are doing better than others. So if I could get 2 to 3 weeks out of the year, out of the growing season, where it is like looking solid all throughout, I'm really happy with that. I mean, most people would even look at would look at this and say, man, that looks great. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I look at that, I say, you know what? I mean, the stripe action looks good, but the color could be a little bit better. The color, like if you look at the dark stripes, they're not popping. I mean, they're not, it's not like that really deep, vibrant green. So having the lawn where I'm happy with it, I get like 2 or 3 weeks out of the year for that. And it's fun. The chase of that is fun. All right. So the second part of your question is, in preparation for next year, I bought some Caravan G after watching your videos. I'm a little confused on when to apply it. Label mentions to prevent fungus, but then mentions waiting for grub larvae. Do I apply it twice, once for fungus and then again once later for bugs? So no. So if you want to get the sweet spot for that, Jason, I would say apply it in May time frame. May, June, I've had the conversations with Syngenta about it, and that's the time frame when they say it's good, is a good time to be able to do that. As far as being able to be effective as a preventative fungicide, because that's the time of the year when lawn disease can start to becoming a problem on residential lawns, May timeframe. And then as far as what the insecticide that's in Caravan G is designed to target, which is like grubs, you're gonna be good to go then as well, that May timeframe. What I do is I use 2 separate products there, right? I use Acelepryn, which is strictly an insecticide, and I use Headway, which is strictly a fungicide. It's like two fungicides in one. And I apply my Acelepryn a little bit earlier than May. I tend to apply it like late March, early April, which again is a little bit early, but I do that for with Acelepryn. And then for the Headway, I will wait till, well, ideally, if you don't have any kind of history of fungus problems, you would wait till May to do your fungicide. I have had large patch in my lawn in April. So like let me think. Last year is when I had large patch in my lawn in April. So I applied fungicide obviously to get to help the lawn heal from that. And then this year I did my application a month early just in case I didn't have to run any problems. But I would not suggest that for people unless you have a reason to apply the fungicide a little bit earlier in the season. Wait till May, June timeframe, because that's really when the window's opening, when you're going to start seeing problems with lawn disease in your lawn. And then again, if you have a celloprine, you can apply that earlier. Again, March, April timeframe. There's some people that will wait till later in the season to do it, but you can definitely, like, I'll put you this way. On my lawn and Alex's lawn, last year and this year, a cellopride went down in late March timeframe, and we didn't have any issues with armyworm damage all season long. Whereas a lot of lawns around here were getting damaged with it. We didn't have any problems with armyworms by going that route. So if you have caravan, I would say, if you can wait till May, like the first week of May, get it down, and then you're good to go. The only reason why you'd apply it earlier than that, if there's a reason, like if you've had insect problems earlier in the season, or if you've had fungus, like lawn disease problems earlier in the season, then outside of that May, June window, you could adjust it. But if you're just using it strictly as a preventative, May, June is what I would recommend. That's what I would recommend. All right, so you have another comment here, follow-up. You said, my side yard is pretty shaded. Looking to throw down some zoysia. You mentioned a seed website on the live stream a while back. What was the name again? Yeah, so that seed website was Hancock Seed. And you know what? To make life even easier, I'll put the link in the description. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I mean, I've got my seed from them over the years. They're good set of people. And they ship quickly. And yeah, I mean, that's how I would check out as far as seed. I got my compadre zoysia from them. So let's see, at Jason Sewell, and that's where I got it. That's where I got my seed. So hope that helps, sir. If you need anything else, definitely let me know. And again, with the thing to keep in mind, you didn't ask this question, but you said you can put down some zoysia in a shaded area. Keep in mind, while zoysia is more shade tolerant than Bermuda is, it still needs sunlight. Like you can't put, like, in other words, zoysia is not like fescue that can tolerate even less sunlight. Zoysia still needs sunlight. Still needs, a good 5-6 hours of sunlight, like direct sunlight, ideally. So if you're talking about trying to plant it in an area where it's heavily shaded, you can try it, but don't be just disappointed if it if it doesn't take. And I will tell you this too, Jason. If you have an area that you're trying to do zoysia, I would almost say go with sod if your budget allows for it, because zoysia grows incredibly slow. When I say incredibly slow, last year when I had like 3 different planters, I did rye, Bermuda, and zoysia. The rye started germinating and growing in in about 4 days, 4 to 5 days. It was coming up. The Bermuda, it was 9 or 10 days when Arden 15 started to germinate. The zoysia took several weeks, and it didn't fill in really until the end of the season, and really it didn't really completely fill in the first year. Like what happened is it had if you can imagine this is like a planter, like the grass grew here and grass grew here, and the middle, because I imagine like there's not as much heat in that area, took a bit longer to grow in. It wasn't until really this spring that the planter completely filled in nicely. So if you're going to go the seeded route, and assuming it will grow in the area where we're talking about putting it, like patience is going to be the order of the day. It's definitely going to be, don't think you're going to throw down zoysia seed, and then a few weeks later, or a month later, or even 2 months later, it's going to be all grown in and looking great. If that's what you're after, I would say go the sod route. That's what I would suggest. So hope that helps, sir. And it sounds like a fun project. Let me know how it does for you. All right, Tillman Water says, Demir, your analysis is right on for Austin. Yep, I should hope so. I mean, this is what he does for a living. I would hope that he would know what he's talking about. Tillman. All right, No Name is up next. He says, Ron, we always get a week at the end of the year and something big happens, and I get called to help solve the problem. I wonder what this holiday cyber fund will be. Man, listen, don't do that. We don't need anything crazy going on. I mean, what do we did? We did that with Log4j this year. What was the nastiness last year? I'm trying to think. You are right. Around Christmas time, I did spend a lot of time on conference calls, and I'm trying to think what it was. that we were doing. But yeah, maybe it'll just be a nice quiet holiday season, you know? That could be a possible thing too, right? That's always a possible thing too. I would be totally good with that. Like a whole lot of nothing going on, right? This time of year is good for that. Or less going on. How about that? There's never nothing going on. For Bermuda said, I forgot video coming with rotary scissors, Ron. Nice. I like it. I dig it. You got to do it, man, because you think about it, it's a good time to make the video because it's going to be nice and shiny. And think about it, I'm going to give you some content ideas, right? So you can do an initial video where you say, hey, look, check out my new shiny equipment. Got my new rotary scissors. I put it together. Here's what goes into it, all this kind of stuff. And then you can run it for a little while, and maybe even next year you can do a follow-up and say, hey, you guys remember like last fall when I did my introduction video on my rotary scissors? I've been using it now for a few weeks or a few months or whatever it happens to be. And here are my thoughts on these. So you've got like some, you got at least 2 videos right there. See, just like that. You got 2 videos, an intro video and another video that talks about your thoughts after using it for a while. And people like that. They like to know, not only do you like the tool and what goes into it when it's brand new, they want to see equipment that's been used and see how it holds up after being used for a while. So I would not miss the opportunity to make some introductory content on your new lawn toy. I absolutely would. All right, next up is TK. Oh, it's a hard question. He says, if you could only treat your lawn with one product all year, what would it be? I think I've been asked this before, and I forgot what I said. Let me think about it. I mean, I'm open to change my mind. If I could only treat my lawn 1 year, one product, does that mean across everything? Does that mean do I get like one product in the herbicide category, one product in the fertilizer category, and then one product in like the biosimilar category? Or are you talking about one product, like one, and that's it? Like one, that's it. Okay, so if it's the latter, we only get one product against all categories, man. That's tough. I mean, I want to say Essential G. If I had a choice, that might be it. But then I think about like I really want to do my pre-emergent too. So I don't know. I mean, if I could have one choice in the herbicide category, it would be pre-emergent and it would be Spectacle Flows. If I only had one pre-emergent, I could have to use the rest of my life, this would be it. This would be the one. If I could only have, and that would mean I only get to use that and I get no post-emergent herbicides, because I think if I get Spectacle down and I do a good job with keeping up with my mowing and building up a nice thick, nice tight canopy, I shouldn't have too many problems with weeds. So that's gonna be my answer on the herbicide route. On the fertilizer route, I would just get whatever fertilizer, like my soil tests results say that I need for that year. So that would cover that. And then biostimulant, if I could only have one, I really like the carbon kit, but probably Essential G. Probably. It's a tough question, TK. First of all, it's a horrible question. It's a mean-spirited question. You can't ask a lawn person like if they can only have one thing, what would it be? That's not. I mean, what would yours be? Anyone else? So you guys are here in the live stream. What would your answer be to TK's question? If you could only have one thing, one product for everything. I'm looking here, he says, yeah, correct for everything. So you only have one thing. So not like one in the herbicide category, one in the fertilizer category, one in the biostimulant category. You can only have one product. What would it be? I don't know. That's tough, man. That's a tough one. For me, probably Essential G. I know. Yeah, that's hard. That's a rough one. All right, next up is David Quigley. He says the soil in North Mississippi rather, is predominantly red clay. Soil test results show decent pH, but lack of all macro and micronutrients. Anything I can apply during the dormant season to improve the soil? Yes, but I wouldn't. I would wait until springtime. So what I would apply is I'll actually show you here. We will go over to here. Go to the golf course lawn store, go to shop, and then go to lawn fertilizer. And I'm not sure if we even have any in stock, so a lot of it's been selling out. Yep, here we do. We have some. So what I would say is I haven't seen your soil test results, but based on what you're saying, like all your macros are low and your micros are low. And if you're looking for something that has all of that, so equal amounts of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, or not if you're trying to do them correctly, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and then all your micronutrients all in one product, it's really hard to beat this, right? You've got all your macros, all your micros, and even 3% iron to give you that little extra green pop. This is what I would say fits the bill for that. I would not apply it this time of year because your grass isn't actively growing. There's no need to fertilize your lawn when the grass isn't actively growing. It's only one at a in a best case scenario, you're just wasting fertilizer. In a worst case scenario, you are creating conditions that could cause lawn disease problems in the springtime. And the grass is again to your point, David. The grass is dormant. You know, the lawn's dormant, so it's not really going to be really taking advantage of it. So I would wait until like March timeframe next year when your lawn starts to wake up. Like do your scalp, and after you scalp it and you start seeing a little bit of green fuzz, the lawn's starting to wake up. It's saying, "Hey, feed me. Give me some go juice." That is what I would go with, or something equivalent. If you can find something similar to that locally, by all means, but something like that with an all-in-one, a triple 12, and then a micronutrient as well. And that product I just showed you has all of it. But I would not do it now. I would wait until next year. I would wait until the spring. There's no reason to. The only thing I really work on as far as improving over the time when the lawn is dormant, David, is like soil pH. So if my pH levels are low, or if they're trending low, like I'll do a lime application now to help bring that up. I've done them in the summer too, but really now is when I will do that type of thing. I'll try to address that kind of stuff now so that in the springtime, whenever it's starting to green up, starting to get warmer, I'm all good to go, and I'm going to get the most out of both my liquid and granular fertilizer that I put into the I use on my lawn. So that's really the only thing I would adjust or focus on this time of year with the lawn being dormant. I would do pH, but I would not, unless your grass is actively growing, which it probably isn't right now, then I would not be putting fertilizer on it. I would not be doing fertilizer on it. And Jason says, Daryl, I did watch your video of the unboxing of the rotary scissors. I can't wait to see them in use. So there you go. There you go, Daryl. See, people want to see it. People saw you unbox it, but they want to see it in use, right? All right, Devin. Oh, he's giving us some trade secrets here. Here we go. He says, for my fungicide and PGR programs, which are all Syngenta products, I use I saw a 35 increase in my early order for next year, right around 75,000 in fungicides and PGR, 50 gallons of Primo. Good Lord, 50 gallons of Primo. What does that even, I can't even do the math on how many square feet that treats. Let me see. So there's 128 ounces in a gallon, right? 128 ounces in a gallon. Is that correct? And you got 50 of those, and a gallon. So that's 6,400. That's 6,400 ounces, and an ounce of Primo on Bermuda treats 4,000 square feet. Is that right? Yeah, just 4,000 square feet. So if we take that times 4,000, that can't be right. Yes, that can't. No, I'm doing something wrong with my math. Let me think. It's a quarter. Let me think about this. It's a quarter of an ounce per 1,000 square feet. So 1 ounce covers 4,000 square feet, and there are that is right. So is that right? 250, 600 is what I'm coming up with, Devin. It's a lot. It's a lot of Primo. I can't imagine, man. That's a ton of Primo. And then as far as your fungicides, I'm not surprised. The 75,000 in fungicides, like that I'm not too surprised at, because fungicides are pretty expensive. But yeah, to his point, what I'm trying to say is that if you like fungicide, fertilizer, like especially the granular stuff, if you have a place to keep it dry, get it. Like I would get it now, because it's not going to be cheaper. It's not like I can promise you the prices you see on the golf course lawn store or anywhere else where you're buying fungicides or any other lawn care products, they are not going to be cheaper next year than they are this year. If you are lucky, people were saying, I got some emails from people saying, oh, how come there's no Black Friday sale this year and whatnot? I'm saying, hey, listen, the prices for the most part, other than for like some herbicides on the store, have stayed the same. Like, that's not true for most things. Like, think about, you go to the supermarket right now, you're paying a lot more for everything. You're paying more for eggs, bread, milk, cheese, gas, for everything, right? For the most part, I've been able to try and keep the prices there. So that's kind of like your discount. But next year, that's probably not going to be the case. So if there's something that you need, that you want, and you have a place to store it, then I would buy it now. I would get it ahead of time. Or if you're like a golf course like Devin, they probably don't have to take delivery on all of it right away. They probably can buy it ahead of time, lock in their price, and they can get it whenever they want. But that's a lot. 50 gallons of Primo. That's a That's a whole lot. Yeah, so because 4 times 4,000 square feet, 25 million. Is that right? That's a lot, man. Wow. Okay. All right. And the next up he says, and that's just that's mostly I can't click. There we go. That's mostly just for the rough and the fairways. Greens are a different animal for plant growth regulator and a different fungicide program. Probably another 50K on greens alone. So there you go, guys. If you want to know why green fees tend to be expensive when you go on a golf course, there you go. That's the kind of stuff they got to buy, which is pretty insane. So yeah, so you guys mainly use the that primo just to cut down how often you guys have to mow the rough and fairways. Very interesting. So 35% increase, and he says, as in an increase from 22 to 23. Okay, sounds good. So there you go. Even people that work in industry that you would think would be able to get, sweetheart pricing because of the amount of volumes they buy, it's still costing them more. So we lowly folk here in the DIY space, you better believe we're going to be paying more for stuff. So thanks for that, Devin. I appreciate you sharing those numbers. That's really cool. Cool to know. And I got to get you back on the live stream. I know you're busy. I know you're doing you're getting your house together and, and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, it'd be good. That way you can also talk about your plans for the lawn and, how we can talk about how we're going to get content and show it off, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it'd be cool to have you on whenever you have time. I know you're a pretty busy guy. All right, Archie's up next. He says, it's already melting. Half is gone already. I can't imagine the mess that is making though, Archie. I will say this, while I don't like cold weather, when right after it snows, it is beautiful outside. You look outside, everything's covered in white, looks really nice, it's beautiful. But then once the temperature goes up and it starts melting and it becomes a big slushy mess, not so great then. Not so great then. All right, next up is 100-Yard Alchemist. He says, hey, Ron, quick question. Have you ever used Fahrenheit on your lawn? If so, how did it work out? I have not. So I know what you're talking about. Fahrenheit is a competitor product to, it's like an off-label competitor product to Celsius. And it's funny, I have a couple of friends that work, that spray lawns for a living, and I asked them about Fahrenheit, and they said, it's a bit cheaper, but it's not, they didn't like it. They didn't like the results they got with it. I've personally never used it myself to be able to say, but I mean, I just stick to the name brand stuff, man. Why not? Why not use the stuff from Bayer? And when it comes to fungicides, why not? Yeah, why not use stuff from Syngenta? The thing you got to realize too is, not that Syngenta necessarily needs my money, because they make a lot of it on their own. But you think I realize that a lot of the third party or the off label, the white label stuff like that come out after the fact, like Syngenta, Bayer, and a lot of other like other name brand companies, like who makes Certainty. I forget the name of it. Valent US. It was distributed by Valent USA, but I'm not sure they're the ones that make it. They actually put a lot of research into developing this stuff, into developing herbicides, plant growth regulators, and fungicides that are effective while minimizing environmental impact. So, while you can definitely go somewhere else and buy something that may have the same active ingredient, the carriers in it are going to be a little bit different. And I'll tell you, like I've used T-Nex on my lawn and I've used Primo on my lawn. And I get the results that I get with Primo. Both of them regulate the lawn. They both do a great job with it. But as far as tip burn, I've seen less tip burn on my lawn. This is even before going to the split apps using Primo than I do with T-Nex. And I was talking to the Syngenta rep about it, and he says, yeah, we can't. I mean, they won't go into what kind of carriers they use, but when you buy T-Nex, yes, the AI, the active ingredient is the same thing, but as far as the carriers and the blends that they use, that is not the same. And the same is true for your fungicides and herbicides. Yes, you can look at the active ingredient and say, oh, this got the same stuff in it. It's not the same. The active ingredient may be the same, but the actual product, the way it's delivered to the plant, is not the same. So, if at all possible, I mean, I spend way too much time on my lawn to save like $5 buying something that may or may not work when I can get something that I know came from the people that in many cases help pioneer, help develop it, and I know I'm gonna get a good result with. So there's my thoughts on that. And again, I'm not saying you have to do that for everything, but for the stuff that really matters, like your fungicides, your herbicides, your growth reg, things that have the ability to give your lawn and your soil a pretty big ouchie if it goes sideways, I prefer to stick to the name brand stuff. But that's just me. All right, next up is Dalvin Larry. He says, "Hey Ron, no questions tonight. Just swinging by to drop a like and say hi." Thanks, Dalvin. I appreciate it. If you coming to hang out, and it's funny. It'd be interesting to hear why Devin, why he chooses only Syngenta. And here's, I would guess this. I mean, I haven't asked him. I have no idea, but I would guess this: that if there's a problem, let's say you go out and he says he's got like his suite of fungicides, he's got Primo. If there's a problem, like he's going to have a lot more support from Syngenta in that realm than he is from a lot of these companies that will make like knockoff products. And let's also say that there's an issue with it. Like his boss is going to be probably going to be a lot more tolerant or be more receptive to saying, hey, Syngenta put out, not that they would put out a bad batch, but there was some kind of problem with this particular batch of stuff. Like they're going to be, as far as having a company they can go after to make it right, like that's better than having like some other third party. Kind of like, the saying in the industry, and it's not really that true that much anymore, but nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. It's kind of like the same thing when it comes to lawn care. Nobody got fired for buying Syngenta, because that's what they do a lot of research, they do a lot of development in this stuff. So I imagine when you're dealing with a very expensive golf course, where people expect it to look right, there's no, like, again, saving, if that 75,000 becomes 70, then it's just not worth it, given the potential downside. All right, next up is Mr. William Howard, where he says, "Hey Ron, I'm new to the channel." If I can actually click on your name, there we go. "I'm new to the channel, but I live in Columbus, Ohio, with cool season grass. I have a grub problem. Would love to try Caravan G. When is the best time to apply? Looking forward to interacting." So if you're doing it as a preventative, William, May, June timeframe is when I would say to get it. But I mean, I don't know if you actively have grubs in your lawn now, probably not. But if I see grubs, if you were to happen to have grubs in your lawn, let's say for whatever reason, like say in March, probably not likely to happen, but let's say that were the case, I would not wait till May or June to take care of them. Now, while Headway is a good product, while Headway is a really good product, and not Headway, while Caravan is a great product, and I do love me some Caravan, it definitely serves its purpose. If you are looking for what I consider to be one of the best insecticides you can use on your lawn, that kills way more stuff than the insecticide that's in Caravan does, and also is better for the environment, I would highly suggest you look into Acelepryn. Like, you can get it in a liquid form or in a granular. We carry both of them. Like the thing that Acelepryn will do, you think about like turf caterpillars, like Caravan doesn't have coverage, or if it does, it's very limited coverage for like armyworms. Like Caravan won't take care of armyworms from my understanding, whereas Acelepryn will, in other words, Acelepryn kills everything that Caravan does, and it does it in such a way that you're not going to harm earthworms or pollinators like bees. So the active ingredient in Acelepryn is different, and it's a very, very effective insecticide. Like I typically have to only apply it once per season on my lawn in the early spring, like late March, early April timeframe, and I don't have problems in my lawn with grubs, with armyworms, with any of that kind of stuff. So if you already have Caravan, great product. By all means, go for it. It's a great combination product. It's Caravan. You know what Caravan is great for? For people that would just want a one and done type product. They just want to put one thing down, to cover their insecticide for the year and cover their preventive fungicide for like the springtime. Caravan's a great product. It is less expensive than buying Headway as a fungicide and buying Acelepryn as an insecticide separately, but buying the two separate products, like Acelepryn as your insecticide and then Headway as your fungicide, in my opinion, is a better way to go. Like you're able to time when you apply them, so you're able to do your insecticide a little bit earlier in the season if you want, and you're able to do the fungicide, in the May-June timeframe. Another reason too is, as far as a way to treat active problems in your lawn. If you had like a grub problem in your lawn in say May, June, then yeah, Caravan's a great choice. But let's say, for example, you did Caravan in the May, June timeframe, and then heaven forbid you shouldn't, but say you had grubs in your lawn like in July or August or something like that. It's kind of unlikely, but let's say you had a problem with that. I would not go out and apply like at that point, like what your lawn calls for is just an insecticide. You don't need to put another fungicide down unless you've got like an actual disease problem. So Caravan is great as a preventative for those times of years when it makes sense to do both. But really, if you're dealing with, if the problem you're dealing with is outside of that May, June window, I'm a bigger fan of doing a Celiprin or Headway. So it's more expensive, but I think it's a better way to go, in my opinion. That way you're not unnecessarily putting an insecticide down, or you're not unnecessarily putting a fungicide down, which is a good thing. Only put down just the side you need when you need it. So hope that helps, sir. And again, if you already got Caravan, then do it. And you want to use that as like your one and done, your as far as your insecticide goes anyway, as a preventative. May, June timeframe is what you're going to be looking at. So hope that helps, sir. If you need anything else, definitely let me know. And then TK says, correct everything. Oh, as far as that goes, well, I don't have an answer for you. I gave you my sideways answer, which is not really an answer of one product. Like you said, I could have one, and I gave you 3. So, I mean, that's good. That's progress. That's good for me. That's good, right? Devin says, if I could only use one product, it's a triple 20 fertilizer. So there you go. For him, so triple 20 fert. He says, no need for a herbicide a good standard turf will outcompete all your problems. So there you go. So for him, he says a good balanced fert. That's all he would use. Good. It's a good choice. I dig it. I like your logic. Doug says, if I could only have one product, it would be Flagship. So a lot of people are going the fertilizer out. I see what they're saying. Okay. All right. And then Robert says, what did they do in the older days? Nothing. There's that. You have a good point, Robert. It is true that grass grows all over this planet. And I would say the majority of it never gets fertilized at all. Like it just grows out in the wild and just does its thing, and it seems to do all right. But I mean, this we're talking about for, us that want to create that lawn that's going to have that standout factor. It's going to, that's going to look better than any other lawn on your street. In that case, a little bit of help, not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. All right, so Devin is chiming in. He says, Syngenta is backed. If you use their product and follow the labels and have dead turf, Syngenta will be paying for all those loss costs associated with it. With replacing, it's backed by the Syngenta program. So there you go. That's as I thought. I didn't see his comment before that, but just thinking out loud, I'm thinking IT, like nobody gets fired for buying IBM. Same kind of thing. Kind of like along the lines of, like, if you have a small business, right, and you just want to put in a firewall, right? You could use like OpenSense or pfSense, or there's a few other open source firewall products that work pretty well, have good throughput, decent features, and for the most part will get the job done. But let's say the company starts making money, and you really are reliant on this piece of equipment to work well and to not have any weird hiccups. And to Devin's point, you want to have someone to go after if something goes sideways, right? Like open source is not the way to go. Like I can't tell you. Like I was following reading a Reddit chat or Reddit posts there where this guy was talking about, we use pfSense and it's great. We have we do our VPNs, we do our fire, we do everything it needs to do. Does intrusion detection for us. It's awesome. But with the company's making more money now, and the current CISO wants to rip all that stuff out and wants to put in FortiGates. And commercial products. So why do that? Why go through and replace something that is technically working fine and put in something that is name brand that costs a lot more just to buy it, license it, and everything about it is more expensive. And some of it is for the reasons exactly that what Devin said. You know what I mean? Like part of what you're paying for is that if something goes sideways, like these companies have a vested interest in making sure that it gets corrected as quickly as possible. Whereas if you're doing something that if you're using a product that is, just you're saving a few dollars on, you're not going to be able to call them and be able to say, hey, listen, I applied this stuff and it destroyed my lawn, or it destroyed my, in his case, destroyed my greens. What are you guys going to do about it? They're going to be like, sorry, you saved on the product. You should have bought Syngenta. Maybe that's what to tell you. So yeah, I figured as much, but it's good to actually hear it from you that's that's your logic and reasoning why. And I'd also imagine too, that as far as also testing interactions between their products, for example, I'm sure with your course, like Syngenta knows, golf courses use a ton of fungicides. They use a lot of growth regulator. You guys probably use other products from them, and they probably do a lot of testing to ensure that there's not any weird interactions, any problems when you're using their program. Kind of like if you're in their system, you're doing it their way, then their fungicides, their growth regulators, like you're in to your point, you're in the Syngenta program, you're in their ecosystem. They can pretty much guarantee that things will work well. You'll have a good result. Kind of like how Apple is, right? Like if you use all Apple stuff, like your life tends to be pretty good, but as soon as you start mixing other things in with it, it can work, but it's less good. Similar thing when it comes to Syngenta or other big name brands. All right, Devin says that BASF and Bayer also have similar programs. I'm just a big fan of Syngenta, good support, and have the product for my needs. Yeah, and you know what? Syngenta was cool, man. You know why I like them? I know it's like, I carry their products on the store. I could carry like the off-brand products that are a little bit cheaper, but I like using their stuff mainly because, you know why? Whenever I have a question about something, like say you guys ask me a question about, hey, I've got this really weird lawn disease or something weird going on my lawn. What's going on with it? I have a rep that I can call, I can text or call and say, hey, listen, hey, this is what, one of my viewers is asking about this. Here's some pictures of it. What do you think? He says, well, I think it's this, it's that. Or if he doesn't know, he takes it back to the fort to get and gives it to someone that definitely knows what it is. And not only does he tell me, hey, Ron, they've got this, but you could also, you can use this product. We've seen good results applied at this rate. Like that's the kind of support you get. So it's not, you have to, in many ways, price is what you pay, but value is what you get. And you can't look at just the fact that I'm buying a bag of fungicide. It's everything else that goes along with that you get along when you buy into that. So I should own some Syngenta stock, right? With as much as I talk positively about their products, but yeah, like you, Devin, I'm a pretty big fan. I'm a pretty big fan. And you said, yep, Syngenta has the best reps too. I found they answer questions, are straight up and won't cut corners. Yep, that's absolutely right. Like, yeah, as far as like saying, hey, will this, even though this isn't labeled for XYZ, some people have said that I can apply it and it'll work. He's like, if it's not on the label, I'm not going to say they can do it. And if it does it, great. But if it's not in the label, then it didn't meet our standards for saying that this product controls XYZ, or that this will suppress growth at these rates. So whatever's on the label, that's what we've tested. That's what we say it's going to do. And if you do that, you're going to be just fine. So I hear you. I completely agree, Devin. Like the rep that I speak with everyone I've dealt with them has been really, really cool. So I see no reason to not keep doing that going forward. All right, next up is Doug 350Z. He says, Ron, can dish soap be used as a hydrotain alternative for the gentleman in Ghana? No, not really. So dish soap is a surfactant, or can be used as a surfactant, but like hydrotain, like they don't actually tell you what's in it. I guess it's their secret sauce. But like the way hydrotain works is you apply it and then you water it in. It gets a couple inches beneath the surface, like into the soil profile. And what it does is, the best way it can be described from what the folks at Ecology have explained to me is that it's a water magnet. It tries to draw moisture below the root zone and also from above the root zone to make water available to the grass, to the root system that would otherwise not be available. And I imagine other moisture managers work in the same way. Dish soap is not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to do that. So no, I would not. It's not even in the same thing. It's not a substitute for hydrotain. Not a substitute for hydrotain. And Devin says, exactly. This could be a really fun talking point when I'm on the stream next. Yeah, man, I'm down. Like, here's a couple of questions I have for you. As far as talking points, I want to talk about green creation. So let's say a person is a glutton for punishment. Let's say, hey, Devin, you know what? I got no life. I got nothing else to do. I want to get out there and have to mow my green in my lawn, at least once a day, maybe twice a day when it's really hot outside. What am I signing up for? What's the process that you would say for a person that's trying to create a golf green at home? Like, well, how should they go about doing that? Like, that's thing one I would want to ask you about. And then just whatever else, like, your lawn project, as far as what your plans are for your cool season lawn, and anything about industry or why you choose the products you choose, or why the program that you use as far as growth regulator, fertilization, herbicides, whatever you do on the golf course, like what, and I know there may be things that you may not want to talk about. And I'm sure there's trade secrets that, golf course superintendents don't share, but what you can share, it'd be interesting to understand the why behind the decision-making process as far as how you put a program together, other than cost, obviously. Obviously, I'm sure if you had unlimited budget, you'd probably do even more, but how you balance cost against getting a result that meets the expectation of the members, that's good enough. That would be interesting to hear. He says, Syngenta also has a pollinators program that we use. We maintain 6 active beehives on the course. I would absolutely love to talk about that. Yeah, man, definitely. Listen, let me know when. You got me. Hit me up on the gram when you got time. Now's a great time of year. It's kind of quiet, and we can absolutely make that happen. Definitely make that happen. Well, guys, it's a short night tonight. I feel like we're only like less than 2 hours in. I mean, I guess it's some kind of holiday around this time of year, so people got other things to do. There's not that many questions that people are coming up with, but if you guys don't have any other questions, comments. Oh, actually, no, wait, we got Greg that's popping in here with something. Let's see. He says this. I'm waiting for it to come across to my software. I see it in this stream over on YouTube. I don't see it that popped in here as yet. But he says, "Hey Ron, this live show is so much more exciting than the World Cup soccer. Keep up the great work and content." Now, I don't know about that. Oh, here's the thing. Soccer or football, because that's what we used to call it growing up. Football is the thing about football that's cool is that, yes, I agree with you that it can be very dry for a lot of the match, but it can go from literally nothing going on. It can go from nothing happening to like a goal, just like that. Like you can have a breakaway and it can happen. And just the creativity. Like, did you see from who was it? I think was it Brazil yesterday that had the scissors kick goal? I think it was on Brazil they did. I think it was I don't know if it was, I think it was Neymar. I think it might have been Neymar, maybe someone else. But they had ball was like the forward was on the left side. He centered the ball, and the guy that ultimately ended up scoring was facing away from the goal. So he stops it, like flips it up in the air, and then does like a scissors kick, a bicycle kick, and knocks it in the net. I mean, it's beautiful. It is a very fun, for me, it's a fun sport to watch. I mean, like as far as things to watch live, I don't like baseball live. NFL live can be okay, but soccer live is actually a lot of fun. Like football live is a lot, when I say football, and I mean soccer, like live is a lot of fun because the crowds are insane compared to like other sports. The crowds for soccer are really, really fun. But I'm not going to say the live stream is as good for that. Hopefully, as far as live streams around lawn care on YouTube go, that hopefully you find this fun and entertaining, at least entertaining for the most part. So there's that, but I am not going to say that I am more fun than World Cup soccer. It's sacrilegious. Are you kidding? I'd have a bunch of Brazilians come after me. He says, Ron, what's your Instagram? I found something that looks like your next step. It is golf_course_lawn, which if I had to do it all over again, I would have just done like something different, but it is golf. You know what? Can I find it? I think I can do it. Let me see here. Instagram. I'll put it in here really quick. I can do that. I have the technology. Golf course. There we go. Lawn. This is me on the gram. This is me on the gram right here. So you asked and you shall receive no name. See at no name. There we go. And that's my Instagram. But yeah. It's that goal was it was Brazil, but not Neymar. Yeah, I knew it was Brazil because it was a yellow jersey, but it wasn't Neymar. But he passed it. Yep, yeah, it was a beautiful goal. I think it was the first scissors kick goal of the World Cup so far. I know I saw someone that attempted a bicycle kick, but it didn't go in. So yeah, leave it to the Brazilians, right? Leave it to the Brazilians to show it off. All right, Devin says from a turf standpoint. Man, the pitches are so good looking. Absolute money. That's the thing. Devin, it's funny. We're getting off on a segue here, but that's the one thing that I've been most impressed with. Like from day to day, like if you look at like a golf course, right? And you see this. You see like the way a golf course looks on like Thursday of tournament. Looks beautiful. It's immaculate. But by the time you get to by Sunday, the course is taking a beating, right? As far as just being able to keep up with the grass staying green, like it's just not like it's beginning to fall off. In other words, like every time when I watch the World Cup, and I watch literally, I have a lot of the matches on. You'll see, and it might be the cut, it might be the camera, it might be who knows what it could be, but they the way the pitches look, man, is I don't know if it's just the watering program they're using or what they're doing after hours, but it does look incredible. I also wonder what kind of grass they're using. I guess I could probably Google and find out, but the grass they're using in the pitches is pretty awesome as well. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about I think what did they said? They said they spent $200 billion. This was what Qatar or Qatar spent for the World Cup. So they got a lot of money, and I'm sure they have really, really good turf people to take care of them after every match. So yeah, you can spend 200 billion for a tournament that happens once every 4 years. You can hire really good people to make sure the pitches always look their absolute best, right? So, all right, next up is David Quigley. He says, I just don't understand the strategy in soccer. It seems like a trigonometry experiment. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, so the strategy, well, I mean, it depends. So if you watch if you watch like the French play, because all of them have different ways of moving the ball around. The thing that I like about the French and also the Brazilians is they play a lot of one touch football, one touch soccer. So what by that I mean, like when they're trying to move the ball downfield, when they're trying to strike or trying to advance for a goal, there's a lot of pass, 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 not a lot of pass, stop, wait, look for the next guy, and then make a pass. So they play the game faster. And the idea behind it, the strategy behind it, is as you're moving the ball downfield, is to try and pull the defenders, or to set them up, in other words, to try and pull them either to one side of the pitch or to the other side of the pitch, or catch someone out of position. And that gives you the opportunity for scoring. So it's not as, I agree with you, it's not as straightforward as like when you watch like NFL or watch like American football, is being able, you look at the way they're setting up the play. Oh, this is a passing play, or this is a running play, or they're about to do a quarterback sneak. With soccer, it is less like each team, and that's what's beautiful about it, is each country has their strengths, and the way they play the game is very different. Like you watch like Spain play, like they are very good too, but as far as like holding on to the ball, like Spain doesn't like to give the ball at all. As far as like playing a massive game of keep away, Spain is very good about retaining possession of the ball. So that, if you start looking at it from that standpoint, you get to see the different there's a lot of strategy to it. It may look like they're just running all over the place, but there's a ton of strategy in soccer, and that's why it's so much fun to watch, you know. So I like it anyway. All right, let's see. Devin says, I don't know if you know, Ron, but I'm a Chelsea fan. Bucket list to go see us say it at Stamford Bridge. Nice. I like so Tottenham in the household. There's some Tottenham. There's Tottenham. People love Tottenham fans. I don't really care for that so much. I like Etienne. Or sorry, I like why am I Mbappe? So Kylian. And I believe, I'm not sure he plays for Etienne now. But Mbappe, I'm a big Mbappe fan. But yeah, probably more than anything else that gets watched in the house as far as like Premier League, as far as like outside of World Cup, is probably Tottenham, mainly because one of the guys at Miramichi Green, that's a good friend of mine that loves to give me grief, loves Tottenham. So if I don't watch it and he calls me, he's gonna be like, "Oh, you're not watching it, man, right now. American football's on. You should be watching the game." So I've gotten into watching them more, watching more Premier League than I would in the past. So, and Tottenham is what I watch a lot of. So, but I just like football in general. I just like watching it. It doesn't really matter who's playing. I really like watching the game. All right, next up is LT Sullivan. He says, "Hey Ron, happy grass giving. I also hit the like button too. I hope all is well, people. I look at my grass every day, wanting to do something too, but it sleeps." Well, there are a couple of things you can do, and that's, there's that, and the video actually that I'm going to be releasing here is going to be talking about that. So a few things you can do this time of year is you can get a soil test done. That's thing one. You can absolutely do that. If you have not done a preventative fungicide, I am a fan of doing that. You don't necessarily have to, but I think there's value in doing that. So that's thing two. And if you happen to live in a part of the country that doesn't get 7 feet of snow, then you can apply a granular biostimulant. So something like Carbon Pro G or Essential G, like the granulars, I'm a fan of doing those throughout the season because those don't go away. They don't leach out of the soil like the liquids do. And they just kind of hang around, and it's something that builds up over time. So those are three things you can do other than just stare at your grass. And of course you want to do the occasional mow, even though it's not really growing, to keep, stripe action looking clean. But there's still some things you can do here and there, so I wouldn't say there's nothing you can do. You don't have to do anything, to be completely honest, but if there are some things that you can do that will put yourself ahead of the game for next year, starting now. Devin says, if I quit golf, I'd 100% move to the UK and take care of a pitch. Would love to do that. Yeah, and you got to figure it. I know that as far as money, as far as like the amount of money that's spent on soccer in the and just especially in Eastern Europe, like in Europe, is huge. It's crazy the amount of money they spend. So as far as their budgets for taking care of the pitches, I imagine it's up there. It's definitely more so than golf courses over in Europe. Like soccer is religion in a lot of these countries. So there is that. So I'm sure being taking care of a pitch over in the UK would be pretty cool. Would be a pretty cool job. All right, next up is no name. He says, I just sent something to your Instagram. Can't wait to hear your reaction. Let me see. Am I going to be able to see it? Let's see. What did he send to my Instagram? I don't have anything. I got something from Sunny, but I don't have anything else. I don't have anything from you. So let's see here. Did you just tag me in it? We can look here really quick. Nope. I don't. I don't see anything from you. I don't see anything from you from No Name. I'll look out for it. I'll look out for it. I don't see anything from you on my Instagram as yet, or that I even tagged anything from you as yet. Are you sure you typed it right, or maybe I didn't type it properly? But it's golf underscore course underscore lawn. Golf underscore course underscore lawn. I don't have anything from you on Instagram just yet. So you may have tagged someone else. Believe it or not, there's actually a few people that create like shadow accounts that with similar spellings because they have no life, they have nothing else to do. So there's that. So I don't know. I don't see anything as yet. All right. Next up is Devin, and again, guys, we're just wrapping here. I mean, if you guys know we're talking about lawn care, but I mean, it's Thanksgiving, so we can talk about other things as well if you guys want. He says, this is really off turf topic, but have you watched the Ted Lasso series? If not, give it a watch. It's awesome. Okay, so you got to tell me, Devin. I tried. I watched the first couple of episodes and I could not get into it. I think you're talking about the series that's on Apple TV, right? I tried a couple of episodes and I was like, I just can't get this. It's just too dry. So if you're telling me I should stick with it and maybe by episode X it gets really good, then I'll give it another go. But I tried the first couple of episodes and I was like, man, I couldn't get into it. But a lot of people seem to like it. All right, next up is Lance F. He says, after your help with my blotchy colored lawn, this spring I'm going to do full renovation using 365 SS bluegrass seed. Thanks for all you do. Sounds like a plan, Lance. Definitely take pictures of the before and after, the video of it, and if you can, get some video as well too, because obviously the lawn is never going to look like how it looks right now ever again once you do your reno, and you want to have a way of being able to see where you came from and where you are now. All right, Gary Keller Jr. says, Ron, what do you know about Anderson's products? I've never used any of them. All I've heard about them is they're very high quality. People that use them seem to really like them, and like they've got a lot of really cool technology in their products. Like I think like their dispersible granule technology is really good. To me, they tend to be a little bit pricey for what you get, but again, people that like them seem to really use them, and I've never used them personally myself, so I can't comment as to the effectiveness. But I would imagine that they're just fine. I'm sure if you're using them and you like them, just keep up with it. So it really depends on you. But I've not heard in other words, the only negative I've heard about Anderson's products is cost. And if the only negative you hear about something is the price of it, then it's probably decent, right? Like if price is the only complaint, they're not saying it doesn't work or anything like that, then it's probably worth considering if you're looking for something like that. And then Devin's timing in, he says, yeah, Gary, he says their products are great. Get the dispersible granule products. Yeah, so they're DG products. Like they have a humic product that it has the dispersible granule, which is really cool. Like when it gets wet, it just literally disperses it. Like it breaks down. Like it's like it was never even a granule, which is pretty cool. And I think that's part of some of the cost of that's part of why the stuff costs what it costs, because it's not cheap. The process of making a prill do that is not inexpensive. So, like anything else, man, you get what you pay for, right? And David Quigley says, Ron, is Humichar from Anderson the same as Carbon Pro G? They are similar. They're similar. Again, I've never used Humichar myself to be able to tell you, but they both have biochar in them. I'd have to look at the ingredients in Humichar to see like what the formulation is, but I know they both contain biochar. That I do know. They both have biochar in them. Carbon Pro G it's like 47% biochar, 47% compost, and then the remaining 6% is like their microbial package that Miramichi Green puts into it. And I don't know what the makeup of the Humichar in Anderson's, but check the label out and that'll tell you. But I think they're comparable. I believe they're comparable as far as that goes. All right, Gary says, thanks, Demar, looking to change it up for next year. Very cool. And then Dwayne Johnson Sr. is here. He says, how to get the best result? I overseeded Bermuda with rye. So here's the thing, Dwayne. I've never overseeded my Bermuda lawn with rye to be able to tell you, hey, this is what I did and I got a great result with it. But the people that have done that and have gotten good results, what they tend to do is they do the overseed in late August, early September timeframe. They tend to cut the Bermuda a little bit lower, so they thin it out just a little bit to be able to ensure that when they put the ryegrass down, you're able to get good soil to seed contact, and there's plenty of sunlight, plenty of heat able to get down to the seed to allow it to help with germination. And then outside of that is watering. Like most seeding projects fail because people allow them to dry out. They don't put enough water on the seed. Ryegrass is actually a pretty easy seed to grow. So if you're able to keep water on it really for the first week, it's definitely going to germinate. And if you can keep it moist for a couple of weeks, you're probably going to be just fine. So I would say lower your height of cut on the Bermuda. I don't know what you're cutting your Bermuda at right now, but lower your height of cut on the Bermuda. If and doing something to thin it out a little bit to help improve that seed soil contact is a great idea. And then once you apply it, water it. Make sure you water it, and then it'll grow. Like again, ryegrass is not a difficult grass type to grow compared to like zoysia or even Bermuda from seed. And even they're not really hard. It just takes a lot longer. So with rye, you know pretty quickly whether you got it right or not. In other words, if you did your prep and then you put down ryegrass, if within 10 days you're not seeing any ryegrass growing in, you did something wrong. Like something went wrong, because it grows it germinates really, really easily. So yeah, and if you were going to start now, I would say you're probably behind the ball a little bit. And unless you're going to tell me you live in South Florida, you are a bit late in the season to take it on now. Really, September timeframe is when you would have want to have done that. And then No Name says, I sent it to your DM now and tagged you in the reel. Let's see, did you send it to my DMs? You trying to hit me up in my DMs? Let's see here. Nope, I got ones from, oh, you know what? I probably don't, let's see, requests. Oh, there we go, I got you. You were in my people that I haven't thinged as yet. Let's see what we got here. Oh, bro, that is a whole, I gotta figure out a way to show this. How can I show this? This is, so here's the thing. I don't feel so bad now about, mowing my lawn in, what is he do? Is he vacuuming in it to get stripes? So I'll show you guys. This is pretty crazy. Let's see here. I'm going to show you guys the link. Copied, and that's one of the beautiful things about a Mac, right? You can copy something on your iPhone and then come over to here and share it, and it will, I'm not sure if it's going to play. It might make me log in. So this is what he's looking at. So this guy,
you can't do what I do. You don't know how to do what I do.
Is out there. I guess he's vacuuming it or brushing it.
Do that.
He's brushing it.
You don't know how to
get the stripes that he wants.
I do,
which is
pretty
insane. Yeah, that's a different level of dedication. If you guys want to see it, I will put it in the in the chat for you. So from @NoName, that's the Instagram post the reel that he's talking about. It's pretty funny. That's pretty. That's definitely hardcore. He's more hardcore than I am. And Devin says, if anyone has any turf questions, I'm all game tonight too. Fire away. There you go. Devin, we should get you on. I wonder if we can. I mean, you're probably not where you can talk right now, but anyway. But yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free. Again, we're just hanging out here until people decide, hey, we're tired and want to go off and go do something else. Go to your eggnog or bourbon or whatever else you're happen to drink on a Friday night. And he says, so No Name has a question here. He says, @Devin, do you ever paint your greens? Oh, this is a good one. Here we go. On stepping on sensitive ground here. He says, do you ever paint your greens? I just saw a local course clearly with a crappy paint job done today. And let's see, Devin's response is no, no name. We don't paint greens. During the winter months, we cover and close our greens in early November until March, April. All on Mother Nature's schedule. So no painting of the greens. There you go. I dig it. That sounds good. And then here we go. Devin's got a question for me. Oh man, this is going to be. I'm almost afraid here. He said, "I got one for you, Ron. If you could only use 3 liquid soluble products, what are you going with?" Primo. I gotta have my growth reg. I gotta have my Primo. So that's thing one. I'm gonna do a liquid fertilizer. So you said I can't, because I can't use granules. I'm gonna go with a liquid fert. And you said I can't do. I really want to, and probably a Celiprin. Probably a Celiprin. I'm trying to think of what else. So I've got my growth reg covered, because once I got to have that. I've got my fertilizer covered. It's either going to be between an insect. It's either going to be between a Celiprin or pre-emergent. And I'm trying to think. I probably get the smarter play. The smarter decision would be to get the insecticide, because to your point, if I'm, as much as I mow, I don't tend to have too many problems or issues with weeds in my lawn, so I could get by without using herbicide. But if I get like a grub problem or armyworm problem, like that's game over, right? And then there's not a whole lot I can do against that. So probably an insecticide, definitely Primo, and then a liquid fert, probably Turfplex, only because it has nitrate. It's got all three. It's got NPK in it, and it's also got a micronutrient as well. That would be my 3. You see how I jumped to Primo first, right? I even started growing the grass yet, and I'm figuring out a way to slow it down from growing. So definitely Primo makes the. So I'm gonna say Primo thing 1. Probably Turfplex. I don't know if I have it here. I don't know if I got it. I don't know about Turfplex right now, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It's in the store. Turfplex, or some kind of liquid fertilizer, ideally one that has micronutrient in it, and then probably a Celiprin. Because fungus problems, like disease problems, I can if I'm careful. If I cut a little bit taller and I'm not stressing the grass as much, and I make sure my equipment is really sharp, I can likely avoid a lot of or any really bad disease problems, as long as I'm not mowing too short. But if grubs decide they want my lawn, or armyworms decide they want my lawn, there's not a whole lot I'm gonna be able to do against that. So I'm thinking those 3. Somehow I feel like you're judging me, and I think I'm getting this wrong. I think you're gonna probably come to me and tell me that there's a better choice. So hopefully Primo's in it. Is Primo at least in your list? What's your list? So Primo, I'm gonna guess Primo, a liquid fert, and then something else that I am not choosing. I said like a Celiprin, but you're probably gonna say something else. Is what I am. Is what I would bet. Oh yeah. Oh, you can get on. Okay, yeah. Let me send you. Let me see. Let me turn on interview mode. Can I do this live? Oh boy, here we go. We're gonna try it. Let's see. So it's on now, and I'm going to text you the link, or message the link to you, Devin. So let me go here on Instagram, and I'm going to send this to you here really quick, and you can try joining. Let's see. We can try and do this live, guys. Live demos are never a good idea. Like when I would do like pen test demos or do like exploit demos, we always make sure we rehearse it time and time again, because you're just playing with fire by trying to do it live. But why not? What's the worst? It's Thanksgiving, right? You guys will forgive me if it goes sideways, right? All right, so you should have it in the gram now, Devin, and I'm gonna switch over to. I think I've got another window here that's 4 interviews. Let me go over to this one, and I need to make sure it's using the right camera. No. Probably looks like it's hanging up. So it's switched over to my studio camera. Let's see if I can do this without. Let's see if this is gonna work. We're gonna try it. We're gonna try it. Let's go back to here. So yeah, so once you pop in, I should see you, and I'm gonna try adding you. I'm gonna try adding you to this one, and to the main one that I'm on, and we'll just see if it works. We'll just try adding you to this one whenever you come in, because I haven't done obviously, I haven't had a guest on since I set up this new computer, so I haven't built the profile out for that. Okay, so guest, let's see here. I'm just waiting for you to pop in, and then it should work. So let me see if you got the link. In the meantime, let me see what other questions folks have got here. Dwayne's World says, "Hello, Ron. Happy Friday. Hope you enjoyed the holiday." I did. I did a whole lot of nothing. I watched some football and did a whole lot of nothing. Oh, here we go. He's popping in. Let's see. Can you hear me? I think you can hear me. I'm gonna try adding him. I'm gonna say add right, and this works.
Enjoyed the holiday. I did.
Can you hear me?
Nothing. I watched some football.
Am I in? Can you hear me?
You are. You're in. We're live. We're trying it.
All right, here we go.
Nice. All right. So let me see. Let me get some of the stuff off of your forehead and off of my forehead. And I got you in here. So cool. So guys, we got
Nice.
Devin in, and I'm live. So can you guys hear both of us? Make sure you can say yeah, you can hear him. I may have to turn him up a little bit, but I think he's good to go. So cool, man. So now,
Right.
so question for you. So this time of year, the greens are done. So what is your schedule like now that the course is pretty much shut down? What are you guys doing day to day?
So yeah, we're not doing a whole lot right now. Our visa guys just went back to Mexico this week, so they've gone back. Hopefully, they're coming back in April.
Mhm.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot going on right now. Our new lodge is opening up this month, so we'll have 60 additional rooms opening up. So that's a whole new thing, and greens are covered. No major projects going on this year, so we're kind of just laying low, just snow removal for the resort side of the club, and yeah, not a whole lot going on. Which
Not
is
a whole lot's going with the
kind of
greens.
it's a nice breath of fresh air.
I hear you. So you say you guys cover the greens. When you do that, like so in the springtime, what kind of damage do you have to deal with, or is it the grass just goes to sleep and when you take the covers off, it's good to go, or?
It just depends. We winter water a lot in the wintertime. If we get days that are above 40, we'll go out and we have frost-free hydrants. So it's a HDP that's under the frost-free zone in the soil, so that those lines won't freeze at all. And we'll hook up 3-inch hydrants, and we'll hand water the greens, so keep that crown of the plant hydrated. But we'll get spots where it's winter desiccation, and sometimes you get spots on the fairways that'll die out, spots on the greens that'll die out, and you just got to fairways you'll reseed them, and on the greens you'll either reseed them or you'll take the sod cutter out and strip them and pull them from our nursery, and we'll resod spots on the greens. So
you guys have your own sod farm to a place to pull from as far as to repair the course.
Yep, exactly. So we have it's probably about I'd probably say about 10,000 square feet for our nursery.
That's
so
a lot.
If anything ever, yeah, we'll pull plugs from there like throughout the year to fix those spots, or if we come out of winter, like we said, we'll sod cut and replace spots on the greens. So
very cool.
Hopefully not. We doing this long enough, we kind of know the spots on the greens that are going to come out of winter the worst, and we'll give those spots. We'll put Excelsior mat or straw matting down on those portions of the greens, and then we'll put the covers on top of them, and we kind of baby those along in the winter time, with the hopes of not having to have all that extra work coming out of spring. Because I mean, I've been on greens before, stamp seeding greens and hand top dressing greens, and members are like, "Oh, when is this going to be good?" And it's like, when Mother Nature decides to let the seed grow. And it's just really tough to tell, because you want to be like, oh, it's going to be great tomorrow, but it's whenever Mother Nature decides it's going to be good. But the level's so intense that the members are like, I want this to be Augusta today,
right?
Not yesterday. So always coming out of winter, it's a little stressful when you pull the covers off and you have dead spots and stuff, and you're like, there's been times where I've seen greens before where we've probably done 300 square feet of sod replacement on greens that have just been desiccated by wind and lack of moisture and stuff. And we pull the covers off, and I just stand there early March, and I'm just like, oh,
So much pain coming.
yeah, you're already 3 steps behind where you want to be, and you're just like, oh, come on. But we always make it work, and the crew bounces back, and we get it in. And the same thing as members ask, oh, when is this going to be playable? It's like, well, as soon as Mother Nature allows it to be playable.
Cool.
So
we got a question here from Gary. He says, Ron Demir, is it okay to switch up fertilizer? I say, yeah. I mean, if you want to, why not? What do you think?
So I think I actually asked his question on the live stream. I said yes, but I would pull a soil test and see what you need. If whatever you're doing is working, keep doing with that. But I would do one anyways and see if you don't need this or don't need that, there's no point in wasting your money and putting it down.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's fun to play, but like if you're getting the results that you like, why change? I mean, if it's a cost things maybe, but I mean, it's just changing it for the purpose of changing. I don't know that there's a ton into that. Let me see. So I typically uses Yard Mastery, but thinking of switching to Anderson's. Only thing that came back on my soil test is I'm very alkaline, which is a surprise. But yeah, I mean, I've never used any of the Anderson stuff, but everything I've heard, especially what you're saying, like the water dispersal granule, like their technology for that is supposedly really, really good. So
yeah, we don't use any of the Anderson DG stuff at the course I'm at now, but in previous courses I've worked at, we've used that stuff before, and it is really good stuff. And like you had mentioned before, it's expensive, but it's one of those things where you get what you pay for.
Yep.
Buy once, cry once.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to complain about it not working. You'll complain about the price, but
as I always say,
it just depends on your situation. If you can afford it, I would do it. If not, there's other options.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so as far as fertilizer, Cindy Parker says I use chicken poop. That's an option. He says this is an interesting one from Teles Foro Lopez. He says, what do I do for my dry lawn for the first time? I mean, water it. Water. Yeah, I would say water initially.
Maybe aerate.
Yeah.
Aeration, create some channels to get that water down in there if it really is that dry and compacted.
Yeah, I would say yeah. Well, exactly, you said water, aerate if it's compacted, aeration. So this is a good point. So talking about greens. Whenever you guys are aerating a green, like what are you guys trying to accomplish by doing that? Like especially during the season when the greens are actively growing, like it's like during the playable season. Like what are you guys trying to accomplish whenever you guys aerate greens?
So yeah, that's actually a really great question. So that would be mostly spring aeration. We're coming out of winter. No one really cares what we have. There's no events coming up. No one really cares. The healing time is going to be the healing time. But say it's our fall aeration, we have our big Ryder Cup tournament, which is like the culmination of our men's league tournaments. They play every other Saturday throughout the entire summer months, and it's the besides our member guest tournament, it's the biggest thing that the club does. So that's the big thing. When are the greens going to be back to 100%? Right. So we usually do that. It's about 3 weeks before that, and all they care about is fantastic. Yeah, we understand you have to aerate the greens. When are they going to be playable?
Go back to 100%.
So that's our entire goal for that is for our playability. So we'll aerate them. So we're doing that PoaCure program. We're going into our third year for that. Mm-hmm. So we'll pull a plug, clean all the plugs off, and like you were saying earlier, we have attachments on our pro cores where the cores are shoveled to the edge of the greens. Cores are manually removed, hauled away. Greens are completely cleaned off, blown off, cleaned off. We come through behind with a verticutter, pretty aggressive to create slits in the greens, cleaned off again with blowers, and then they're overseeded with bent grass, 2 directions, 0.75 pounds per thousand, so 1.5 pounds per thousand of bent grass after the 2 directions, and then we'll top dress heavy, drag it, and then we usually have to top dress again, drag it, because the sand quantity is so much, you just can't put that much sand down and get it in the holes.
Right.
So essentially, like you were saying, the main goal is to remove that organic material, but we want to get the greens back to
playable.
100% midsummer playability as soon as we can. And then usually that Friday. So we're closed. We'll usually be open to that Monday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be closed with a noon start on that Friday. So we have essentially 3.5 days to do everything we need to do. And then on that half day, we'll usually spray the greens, and we'll usually tick up the nitrogen in that program, maybe add a little bit of PGR to increase that vertical growth on the greens, just to kind of tighten it and get it back to 100%. And then usually we'll, for maybe the next week or so, we'll just roll, because we're not going to mow, because you mow 2 days after you do all that top dressing, you're just going to blow your reels up and your bed knives up, and then the mechanic's yelling at me. He's like, what's going on? I hate the sand. Yeah, he's pissed off about it. But yeah, essentially that time of the year, it's all just about getting the greens back to midsummer play. We have about a week and a half to get the greens back to what they would be like in mid-July and September.
A week and a half.
So yeah.
Wow.
So that's what we aim. We there's a little wiggle room there, but we say week and a half, we want them back to as good as they are in July.
So you're able to aerate, verticut, overseed, top dress, and in a week and a half, 2 weeks later, it's the greens are I mean, again, assuming that Mother Nature cooperates, they're playable at that point.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, wow.
So usually everything's already knitted up, and you can't see any pictures. And I'll have to send it next time I come on a live. I have some pictures of 1 day, 3 day, 7 days of that progression of the greens, of standing in the same spot on the same green, and you can see it progress all the way to where they're all the way filled back in. Now, and we'll I was going to say, when we do those our fall aeration, we'll use different tines. So we'll use 1/4-inch quad tines, which is the same as a 1/4-inch quad tine, or a 3/4-inch quad tine if you had it on a single holder, but we'll do it on a double holder. So you're still pulling out the same amount of material, but your holes are significantly less. So your diameter of your hole that you're growing back in is less than what you would be doing in the spring.
I see.
So you're still removing the same amount of material, just your hole size is different. Instead of one set of tines, you have a back set of tines behind it. And they're just a little bit smaller.
Now, do you guys always pull cores, or sometimes you'll watch some greens where they'll use solid tines? Do you guys ever do that, or do you always pull cores whenever you aerate?
So we used to do that, and this will be actually a pretty cool thing to get into when I have a full segment on your stream. So we're doing this new thing. It's called an OM46 soil sampling. So it's a whole new soil sampling thing where we're taking it from the 246 centimeter of the profile. And essentially what we're trying to do is find how much disruption we can do to the greens and how much sand we can add to the greens without disturbing the playing disruption of the greens. So we're trying to find that fine layer of our agronomy maximum level of keeping the greens to where they're at their maximum best playing, to where how much stuff we're doing to them.
And and I guess I'm sure there's some science to it, but I guess each green is probably different. You have to kind of figure out what that particular green likes or wants.
So, yep, exactly. So we just started this. So this is this whole summer. So there's this whole program. You might have heard of it. It's called Greenskeeper. A professor in Nebraska has developed this program, and we're using it now. So it's this whole program, and we input our PGR rates and all this stuff. And each day when the guys go out to mow, we have certain greens where they're collecting the quarts of clippings removed from greens. So we know how much N input we need to put. So we were it was probably in June this year, the guys were coming in and the clippings were just off the chart. And I'm like, I can't believe you guys are getting this much clippings. So probably starting in June till the first week of September, I stopped putting any nitrogen into the greens.
Wow.
And then tracking that with like stimping and bobble test, which is the roll of the green. We're able to take that data to put in quantitative data to see what we need to do and what we don't need to do, and back off on certain things. And then it ties in with the PGR, and you can like, there's this graph and it shows like all the clippings that are coming in and the PGRs we're putting in and how everything ties together. So it's pretty crazy. But then it also ties into our agronomy program and our culture program for how much sand we're putting on the greens and how we're just disrupting the surface of the greens and how that all ties in. So essentially we're trying to do, it's like I guess it's kind of like how would you call it? Like least maintenance agronomy practice to the greens to have the best playability. Like, what is the minimum inputs we can do to have the best playable greens that we can have for our members, so they don't have to deal with our thing. So this is our first full year of doing it, and it's pretty cool to see. Like I said, in June, like the guys were coming back and like the clipping amounts, I'm like, this is insane. I'm like, why? I was like, this is freaking nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, I'm not putting any nitrogen in any of the green sprays, and that was till the end of August. And there was no problems in the greens. They're good. The color response was good. Growth response was good. So
very cool.
Kind of just fine tuning that. Yeah. So it's kind of a cool new aspect. And a lot of places are doing that. Like Hazeltine, who's hosted the Ryder Cup. He's kind of their superintendent's like kind of like the first big guy who's been doing this. And we were like, oh, this kind of seems like a good idea. So our director of agronomy has been talking to him, and we're kind of trying to follow suit with their program.
Nice. Cool.
So a little inside the ropes look there, kind of
inside info. That's cool. Very cool. Yeah. Okay, so Tomko says happy holidays, Tomko. And Joseph Robert has a question. He says, "What's the rule on hydrotain during winter months? Here in Oklahoma, we are still in drought conditions." I can tell you that you talk to the guys, folks at Hydrotain. Granted, they're in Florida and they apply it year round. What about you? I mean, you guys have snow, but what's your thoughts on moisture managers throughout the winter months? Something someone should do, not do? Good idea, bad idea?
So in the winter, we don't really use any wetting agents. We'll use, I guess, moisture managers is kind of more what Hydrotain is. We use a product called 1690. We'll spray that on the greens at about 16 ounces per thousand. Water it in really heavy, and that's all it'll be. It's about a 90-day control, which will get us until early spring.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Hydrotain, nothing really as far as that. We'll use a couple like granular products. Aqueduct, I think I've told you about, from Aquatrolls. We'll use, if we have leftover, we'll use it from the summertime. But yeah, nothing as far as Hydrotain. But if you do have Hydrotain, I would probably use it, as long as you can water it in to kind of hold that moisture.
It's not a bad plan. Cool. All right, so we got Tails Forest, help my turf is very dry. Yeah, so water Tails Forest, that I would say. So this is a good one, and this is, I mean, I guess I'm sure the answer's gonna be depends, but Dwayne's rule says, "Hey Ron, what is the optimal height of cut for perennial ryegrass?" And this is a good one for Devin. And before I show you this, I'm not sure if you saw the pictures of his lawn. This is his Bermuda lawn that's been overseeded with ryegrass, and I'm not sure what height of cut he's at there. It looks pretty good. But in your opinion, if someone's real mowing, how high would you cut perennial ryegrass?
Oh man, I mean, we have approaches. We've been doing a interseeding program with perennial ryegrass, and we'll cut those down to 7/16 on fairways and 1/2 inch on approaches and collars. So I would be comfortable going as that low. I would say that probably looks about a 1/2 inch would be my guess.
So 1/2 inch.
1/2 inch is probably where I would go with it.
Now as far as so when you're mowing perennial ryegrass at 1/2 inch, I never had cool season lawns, so I'm not sure how aggressively they grow. Do you have to use Primo on that in that program to ensure that you're not, you maintain color, you don't have too much successful growth, or what is it? What growth rate do you use along with it?
I would say as long as it's actively growing, you could probably use Primo. I'd have to look at the label. I want to say I think Primo is like 0.6 ounces per thousand.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mark my words on that.
Yeah.
I'm just using my memory from the Primo label, but I think it's right around 0.6. Usually what I do, like when I was doing my old yard, when I was about at 2 inches, and that was for a KBG Primo mix, I was going at about I was cutting that rate about a half, and then I was doing a half rate twice a month on my yard when I would spray Primo,
Nice.
which
Yeah.
would be a safe bet if you're doing that on rye, if you are spraying Primo.
Okay, 'cause I did that for this first time this season. I did the split apps with Primo and loved the results. Like there was no like I didn't see any tip burn with it.
Yeah.
Great regulation. Now, as far as on the courses, do you guys? I mean, I know every time you have to send a truck out, there's costs associated with that. But do you guys tend to do like I mean every couple of weeks, or is it once a month? Like what kind of intervals do you guys use on your Primo apps?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for greens, every other week, greens get sprayed with that. And the only time we use Primo on the greens is when we're using our POA cure, because we use paclobutrazole and Cutlass,
Hmm.
and those two herbicides, growth regulators don't play well with POA, the herbicide, so you can get some pretty bad tip burn. So Primo plays good with POA, so we'll use that within our 2 week window for that.
Oh,
And then as soon as we're out of our 2 week window, we'll switch to paclobutrazole and Cutlass. But we use Primo at 8 ounces per acre for every other week there. And then when we're doing fairways, it's about what does it come about to? We'll use about 88 ounces per tank at a
okay.
300 gallon tank. So it comes
It's a
out.
lot.
It's like, yeah. So it's quite a bit, but it's once a month for fairways and rough. So we'll spray those June, July, August, September. So once a month they'll get sprayed. So we're maxing those rates out. Um, just because you don't have the luxury of being able to go out and spray 36 acres of fairways, 36 acres of rough in
So
play.
expensive.
So
Yeah.
you gotta really pick your window when you're doing it. So when you do it, you max it out really high. And like I said, we'll throw 4600 in that with about 0.15 to 0.17 pounds of N, and then iron
Okay.
to balance that. Because sometimes on those monthly, and I'm sure you've done that, if you've done that at like a monthly rate, you'll get some of that like bronzing effect.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll throw a kind of a heavy rate. It's about, the iron product we use comes in about 14 pounds an acre is what
Okay.
we'll put on that to mask any of that. But we really don't see that because we mow fairways. Fairways are getting mowed every day, so any bronzing gets trimmed
You don't
off.
see it.
But we don't want to see it anyways, so
Right.
it's kind of just a, or I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
we don't care. Golfers don't want to see it, is what I
You
should
don't, yeah,
say.
golfers don't want to see it. And it is funny. You say you're using Tide Pack or paclobutrazole. Like I used that several years, like for many years, several years ago. There was a short period of time where you could get it for residential lawns, and then I guess they decided they weren't selling enough of it or the cost or whatever.
Mhm.
And they pulled the registration with the EPA got pulled. I guess, or at least for using it on on residential turf. And
Yeah.
the little time that I used it, I really liked it. I mean, it regulates for longer. The color, the density was really nice. And I'm almost, I mean, again, Primo's a great product, but I really liked Tide Pack when
Yeah.
I was able to use it.
Yep, and it's actually, I've talked to being living with our in-laws right now. I've talked to my father-in-law about that kind of stuff, and it's really almost a shame because it's not you or anyone, probably anyone else in this stream. It's people who can't read labels and they think, oh, more is better, and then they kind of wipe it out for everybody else, and then they go, well, yeah, sorry, this isn't for home use anymore,
Not for home use.
which is
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. But yeah, paclobutrazole is a really, really good product, and like, like there's different modes of action, so that's got to be watered in. It's root absorbed first Primo, which is foliar absorbed.
And I used to play with doing both of them. Just but cutting down the rates. And again, it's the results that I got were really good. Again, it's a shame. It's a shame
Yep. So yeah, we used to use, so a Cutlass also has paclobutrazole in it, so it's a 3-way product. So when we do that with when we do Cutlass with paclobutrazole, we'll let it dry, water it in overnight. So it works great.
nice. Nice. All right. So let's see here. So let's see. Carlover says, "Go give my lawn its last cut yesterday. I noticed some 3 inch. I'm not sure. All right. So we'll come back to that. So this is a question for you about getting into the turf care industry. It says, okay, Devin, big question for you is, how did you get into your current job? Also, what do you do between now and March? Ski.
No, I don't ski or snowboard. I used to snowboard. I actually fractured my back, L4 and L5 vertebrae when I was in high school.
Ouch.
I don't know if I ever told you guys this. I was going to go to Michigan State to play hockey, and then I messed up my back, and they were like, "Yoink!" pulled that scholarship. So I ended up going to CSU. So no, I don't snowboard or ski anymore. Even though I really do like snowboarding and skiing, but I don't do it anymore. But mostly being at a big club, we have a lot of stuff. Even though the grass isn't growing in the winter, like I said, we are responsible for snow removal. I oversee all the snow removal for our lodge, the new lodge, our athletic club, our clubhouse. We have 6 restaurants on site.
Oh, nice.
So those are all open all the time. So we got to make sure that walks and parking lots are clean for them. And I have multiple guys under me that I'll set the schedule for, and they'll come in there. And sometimes they have to stay late. And usually in the mornings, if we have snow, I'm up at 2:30, leaving the house at 3:30. Got to be there by 4. Athletic club opens at 5. We got to make sure the sidewalks are cleaned for our athletic club members coming in. So there's a lot more to it
Than just the course.
Than just the grass. Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as getting into your job, so someone wants to do what you do, what's the route look like for that?
So it was actually pretty funny for me. So my sister was on a soccer team, and the head coach and the assistant coach, Dennis Lyon, was the director of golf for the city of Aurora. So he oversaw 8 courses. And then Joe McCleary was the superintendent at Saddle Rock. And he was like, hey, when you turn 15, if you want a summer job, come out here and work. Went out there and worked my first year. I was like, this is awesome. This is a lot of fun. Worked there through high school, was going to college, was going to originally do civil engineering. He called me into his office, and he was like, oh, what are you doing for school? And I was like, oh, I'm going to civil engineering. Oh, yeah. He was like, oh, you don't seem too amped about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't know. It'll be cool, I guess. And then he was like, well, you're going to CSU. It's a pretty big turf school. He's like, you can do this for a living. And I was like, had no idea. And I was like, that's awesome. So went up there, had met with our advisor, and changed my degree on our freshman tour day, I guess is what you would call it. And then, never really looked back, and just did that ever since.
Nice. Very cool. So
you get into it young. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting an intro to it, and then also having a desire for it. And like anything else, like having connections also often helps as well too, I'm sure.
Yeah. As long as you don't mind waking up early in the summer, you're going to be fine. Like,
nice.
That's what I've always mind. 'Cause I'll wake up in the summer. I get up at 4 every day in the summertime. I leave by 4:30. We start at 5:30. I like to get there about a half hour early. My assistants are usually there. We kind of go through a game plan of what we're doing for the day.
Nice.
I'll set up the job board, which is one thing I found. You never set the job board up the day before you leave, before the crew can see it, because then they're like, oh, that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Right.
So you never do that. So you always set it up first thing in the morning. I get there early, kind of look at the irrigation system, make sure nothing's running that shouldn't be running, do a loop through, and then you kind of start your day.
Nice. Very cool. All right, so a question here, it sounds like moles to me, but Cocker Lover says, last mow up here in Mass, I notice a lot of shallow tracks in the lawn where the grass can be pulled up easily. Lawn is irrigated and regularly fertilized. Is this mole tracks?
I would guess vole tracks would be my guess. Vole tracks, yeah, because moles. I was actually just doing this certification through the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America, and there was actually a question versus vole versus moles, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, that's kind of a good question, so I kind of had to look it up to get the question right. But moles will kind of leave like large piles, mounds throughout, and voles will leave corrugated tracks throughout. So my guess would be a vole.
Okay.
And they usually come off, like, if you have like I don't know, like native area or woodland area, they'll usually come off that and burrow in and then go back into that area.
I see. And getting rid of them, is it similar to moles, or is it?
Yeah, you can like set up scissor traps or just put like in bait stations. So either way.
Gotcha. So there you go. Voles sounds like what you have, Cocker Lover. All right. Tuchel says, "Hey Ron, I'm part of a cigarette club called Bravado. Their website was hacked yesterday for the second time this year. That's not good. Is it okay if we recommend your services if you have an opening? Sorry, this isn't lawn related. Yeah, sure. I mean, you have my email address. If they want to, I mean, I'm Ron at golfcourslawn.com. They can send me an email. I mean, I have another email that I use for that kind of stuff. But if they want to email me, I can definitely take a look at it if you want. You got my email, Ron at golf course. I shall put it real quick and I'll get it off of Devin's forehead. So right here, if you want to email me or if you want to email me there, I will see what's going on and see what I can do to help out. So yeah, no problem at all. Happy to do that. Probably, yeah. I mean, who knows? They have web shells or something in there and their site. Who knows? Let's have to look at it and see. All right. So on the topic, this is a good one. Greg, I'm butchering his name. I'm going to say the S is silent. This is Greg Voma says, on the topic of aeration, I have a pull behind AgriFab aerator, which I basically pulverize hard, compacted soil, but never seems to truly lighten / soften the soil. I just don't think it goes deep enough. I'm 3/4 of a mile from a country club in Avon, Indiana. What do you think my chances of bribing the ground crew to bring their aerator down one night next spring is? Probably not very good, but
Probably pretty low.
yeah, probably pretty low.
Probably pretty low. I would say, Greg, I would do a pretty heavy, deep watering the night or two before, maybe multiple nights in a row if your soil's that heavy and compacted. Do a couple big nights of watering before, and then running your aerifier through it just to kind of help, and then maybe putting like a weight on the back of it if that's possible to kind of help seeing it like an airway. They have the water tanks, fill that up all the way. Or if you have a way to put like bricks or sandbags or something like that, just to give it a little more downward pressure, just to pull a better plug. But
Okay.
I wouldn't count on the local club lending their
Yeah.
machines.
Or even them coming out, because you got to think of it from their perspective, Greg. Like, even if they said, okay, yeah, we'll come out and do it, that's a huge risk for them, because if the equipment gets damaged or torn up, or like they get in an accident on the way there, like how are you gonna explain that? That's not gonna, you know, just I think I'd be shocked if they did it, unless you have someone that you're friends with someone that works there, like the superintendent, and even then they'll probably come
That'd
and
be your
help
best
you
bet.
improve what you're doing now with your stuff. I think is what's going to happen. Yeah. Okay, so this is a good one here. So it's a question for Devin. He says, okay, question for Mr. Devin. In Kentucky bluegrass lawn, do you apply TNX PGR differently under trees which shade the grass versus an open area? I've gotten some grass die off under my trees this year since my plant growth regulator, 8 millimeters per gram, I guess. Also, is it no longer required to do a winterizer app of fertilizer on Kentucky bluegrass? I've read some studies that suggest it's not as beneficial as thought before. What say you?
A couple good questions there. As far as applying under the shade, I wouldn't worry about it. If you're starting to get like a little bit of phytoticity, or what's the word? Phytoticity tip burn on those areas, maybe if you're doing those apps, leave that area untouched every other way you do the rest of it that's in the shade or in the sun.
Mhm.
And then as far as winterizing, I still think you should do winterizing. I think it's a good thing to do. When I was at my old house, I was doing like a 15th of a pound of 4600 urea every other week to once a week, depending on how the temperature was. So I would still do that. I think it's good. I think you build good carbohydrates, as long as it's cost effective to what you're trying to do. I would still do it. I think it's a good thing to do. Kind of give good carbohydrate buildup. Let the plant store that, and then you got some good buildups coming out of winter.
Nice. Cool.
But yeah, as far as and then the primo, I would just if you're seeing like kind of dieback or burns, maybe don't keep applying in that area and just kind of skip that and maybe hit that with a little bit of extra fert to kind of help it grow out of it if conditions are good for growth.
So on the topic of using fert to help promote like healing in areas that got damaged. Now, let's say you have an area of your lawn that you had some large patch or some other lawn disease that came and did some damage. Like, what's your? I don't know. You guys probably apply enough fungicide that you don't have this problem, but let's say you did have an issue that had some kind of lawn disease. What would be? I mean, do you think adding fertilizer to help with speeding up the recovery process, or what would be your process for dealing with something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I don't know if you recall, but when I was at my old house, there was, I think it was like 2020, 2021, I had a really, really bad leaf spot and melting out.
Hmm.
And like the yard just looked terrible. It was like the first year that it had ever done that. And I was just like, kind of at like a loss. I'm like, what? It's just Mother Nature doing its thing. It's like, never have had this problem before. And then all of a sudden it's like, the yard's perfect. You walk outside to have your cup of coffee one day and it's like, maybe not for most people's eyes, but like me looking at it, I'm like, oh, this looks horrible. So
Right.
you go out and you're looking at it and you can see like the purple veins and the leaf spots on it. And I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, why is this happening? So and what I did do is I would do 2 apps, or I did an app of propiconazole at 2 weeks, and then I would alternate that with an app of propiconazole. And you can do Headway G, cover it all in one. I was doing liquid, so I was doing back and forth to cover the bases, and did one, and then I did an app of FERT at just 1/10 of a pound, really really light. Once that initial period for the propiconazole was up, did one more app of propiconazole, did a
Hmm.
0.05 pound N of urea,
So
and
not very
then with
much.
and then it was
Light.
timed with the next azoxystrobin. So you're within all the rates. You're not loading it with fertilizer. So you're helping stopping what's going on, but you're also giving what's still there a little bit of life to kind of help it go through. And then I was also pumping it with some macronutrients and a little bit of like sea kelp. I'm a big fan of sea kelp and potassium to kind of help bring that up. And I thought that worked really really well.
Nice. So really, once you have a lawn disease problem, it's so patience is. I mean, so yes, using a fungicide is important, but then it's just patience, like most things in your
Yeah.
lawn, right? To help
And
to
like
help them
and like
recover.
you were saying earlier, I can't remember who was asking. He was asking about applying a fungicide, and it's not like you're not going to go out and apply a fungicide, and you're going to go out the next day with your cup of coffee, and you're going to be like, "Oh, the lawn's pristine. It looks perfect." It it'd be awesome if it worked that way, but it just doesn't work that way. It's a couple of weeks. It's 3 or 4 weeks up to a month before you stop the disease and the turf has enough time to recuperate and outgrow what it was fighting off and fill back in and be a good standard turf again and have good color. And then once you get to that area, that point in that, do your preventative apps, add iron, add your macronutrients, and
Hmm.
give it a little bit of FERT. Don't load it with FERT. You don't want to go out and give it like, oh, I'm going to give it a pound and a half of FERT. You don't want to do that.
Right.
Pound and a half, and just give it a little bit, just a little enough to kind of help it heal over, and you'll see it kind of start ticking up as it goes. But yeah, that's one thing I've learned, and that's a great point by you. There's been times that, even at the course, where I just get like really frustrated, and it's like, this is
Hmm.
just a game of patience,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you just got to
Definitely.
you just have to trust the process and everything you've learned and everything you've talked to and everyone who's told you what you need to do. Whether, like we were talking earlier, you talking to your Syngenta reps, and they just do this, and just this is what's going to work. And when it's like a golf course, you're talking to like your GM or your director of agronomy, and you're going through the things, and it's like, all right, this is what we're going to do, and it's not going to be
Yeah.
instantaneous, but you just got to trust the process, and then eventually you'll see it start taking up, and then you're like, all right, we've kind of
Reach
reached
that
that
point, that
pinnacle.
tipping
Yep,
point.
yep,
Yeah.
where the turf
But
is now doing better than it was.
I mean, and you think about it, it's like anything else in life, right? Like if you had like high blood pressure, they can give you stuff to help bring it down, but like
But it's
it's
not
like the process
instantaneous.
of
Yeah,
fixing that is changing diet and lifestyle and all that kind of stuff.
yep,
These kinds of things. And so it's so with our grass, and I've definitely gotten better at it over the years because I used to be like I want my lawn to look perfect all year round, all the time, and I just you know what you just I've come to terms that it is just literally not possible, or I should
yep,
say this, I've come to terms that it will not look like my definition of perfection. I will have that for a few weeks. I'm not going to have that like
yep.
the entire time. It's just not going to happen.
So that's actually pretty funny. So we'll have like assistant in trainings or interns who will work for us, and one of my favorite things is I tell them is I was like, the turf doesn't lie. I was like, if myself or one of my assistants tell you to do something and you don't do it, in a week or two, we will tell if you didn't do it
Right.
properly. The turf doesn't lie, And it's the same thing. Like they'll be like, oh, there's this fairy ring in the fairway, and they're like, oh, what do we got to do? And I'm like, they're all worked up about it. They're like, we got disease in the fairway, and they're reading their textbooks from school, and the reality, it's like you're not gonna do anything to fix that. It'll run its course.
Right.
The disease system will run out, and then the bluegrass and ryegrass will fill back in. I'm like, there's nothing to, and they're like, oh, you're not worried about that? And I'm like, no, it'll be all right.
It'll be just fine. Yep. Exactly. Yep. All right. This is Greg says, the new owner of the country club used to be a patient. I always aerate heavy after heavy rains and put 4 large cinder blocks in the unit. I'll let you know how the bribing goes. All right, you can give it a shot. Okay, so this is a good question. One thing I've been wanting to ask you for a while. So I want to ask you this one for a while. So there's been an uptick in people at homes wanting to have golf greens at home. They will say, hey, I want to have a golf green at home. Think it's going to be awesome. So for someone that does that for a living, that maintains courses, maintains greens, repairs greens, what is someone signing up for if they decide they want to have a golf green at home? And if they decide they really want to do that, how would you go about taking a portion of your lawn and turning it into a green?
All right, so here's actually a really good one. So my fiance Rachel, we're moving to the new house, and I tell her I'm real mowing. I'm going to mow 3/4 inch, and she knows. She hears me complain and vent about work all the time, and she goes, "Do you want to do that much work at home?" And we're talking 3/4 inch.
Right. Yep.
So if you want to do a green height of cut, that's an everyday thing. You got to mow it every day. You got to top dress it every other week. It needs to be on a every other week preventative fungicide program. It needs to be on a special spoon feeding program. It needs to be on a special micronutrient spoon feeding program. It is an everyday. That's once it's in, I'm not talking about actually getting it installed and doing the actual growing for it. If you're doing a Bermuda or bent grass, trust me, we have bald spots on the greens. The sun has to align just correct. The moisture has to be just correct to get the bent grass seed to grow. And that's when you're trying to grow it in while you're mowing it at 1/100 of an inch. So wow. I would say it is a lot of work. If you got the time, you could probably do it. But if you're one of the guys where you're like, oh, I can maybe do it, and if I forget about it for a couple of days, I'll just get back to it. No luck.
Not for you. Yeah, and I figured that too, because I see some of the greens on YouTube and on some YouTubers, and I say, if I'm going to do it, I know how I'd want it to look. And to your point, it's funny. I was speaking to a rep. He was I think he's from Helena, or it's like an ag company around here. And he said, Ron, it's funny. People always say, because he watched my content too. He says, Ron, people always say the lower you go, the more you have to mow. He says, that's actually not true. He says, the lower you go, the more you have to do. Meaning mowing is one thing, but like to your point, fungicide, specialized fertilizer program, everything. Because mainly it's because you're trying to make the grass do something that I'm guessing innately it doesn't want to do. Like grass doesn't want to be cut that short and live that short, and that's why you have more disease problems potentially. Why you have to use fungicides.
Yeah, exactly. It's just another layer of stress that it's not used to, and you have to combat with agronomic and culture practices to keep it going.
There you go. So there you go. So you guys want to do?
If you've got the time, then go for it. But you also need the machine to do it. It needs to be set to the proper height of cut. And when you're cutting greens, like your blades have to be sharp all the time. Like you can't get away with sharpening your bed knives in a reel once a year, like I'm planning to do when I do our 3/4 inch. Like our mechanic, it's every other week he's sharpening our greens blades, because it has to be so tight and so precise, or you're shredding stuff. And then if you're not on top of your disease prevention, there's all those open holes and disease will jump right in. Or it's a lot of work that I don't think a lot of people really realize. I mean, it's definitely plausible if you have the time to do it, but it's just there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it.
Are there certain grass types that are easier to establish as a green than others, you would say? Or
I would say probably for you guys being down in the South, probably like hybrid Bermudas would probably be the best. And like, I think like Tifways, I think are one of them. which
Yeah,
a lot of
I know
people
there's
use
typically
down
use like an
there.
ultra. They have like an ultra dwarf Bermuda that they
Ultra dwarf,
use.
yeah, yep. And then up in our neck of the woods, like POA, which you guys hate POA,
Oh,
but a lot of greens
we
are
kill
POA.
Poa.
There's POA. Like the greens at Shinnecock, those are 100% POA. Like a lot of greens out east are 100% POA, or like bent grass greens.
And you can cut Poa that short; it tolerates it just fine. No problems at all, really. Or
Yep. But that's another thing. If you have POA, then you got to worry about seed. Do you want seed heads on your green? Because it's going to go to seed head at a certain point in the year. We even at our course, why we have POA, we spray proxy, two proxy apps in the spring, one proxy app in the fall, in conjunction with our POA Cure apps, which is a growth regulator to inhibit the formation of seed head. Golfers don't want to putt on seed heads because they're
right.
bumpy. The undulation of the greens, it changes the roll of the green. So that's another thing. I mean, if that's a big thing to you, if you don't want to look at seed heads on your greens, I mean, you'll get them in, if you don't apply that stuff, you'll get them early in the spring. You'll get them in midsummer when it starts getting hot, because that's their defense. They're like, this is horrible. I want to kill myself and promote new growth because this
Mm-hmm.
is awful. And then in the fall time, when they start to go dormant, they're like, all right, well, this is the end of our life cycle. We need to start making the
New
new
babies.
generation. Yeah. And
Wow. So
unfortunately, a lot of the new cultivars, or not new cultivars, the cultivars that exist in putting greens aren't, they don't actually create seed head. They just do the flower. They're sterile is the
mhm.
word I'm looking for. So it just ruins the putting surface. So that's another thing you got to think about.
That's true. It's not even regenerative; it just makes a big mess. And then, so in that case, if you're using like bent grass, you end up having to overseed like what you guys do. You having to
Yep. Yep. And they're so obnoxious because POA is, we joke in the turf industry, the last two things on this planet, if everything disappeared, would be cockroaches and POA. It'd be the last two things that would exist on this planet.
right.
Um, you can mow them at 100th of an inch, 0.15 inches, and or 0.100, and they'll set the seed heads below your cutting height, and they're like, oh, okay, no problem.
No problem.
You're gonna mow this low, then we don't care. We'll just our seed heads will be below your cutting height.
Right. Right. So it's designed to survive. Yeah. So interesting. So there you go, guys. So if you're interested in doing a green, if you have the time, yeah, by all means, but know that it's not just putting the sand in and cutting it really short. It's the equipment. It's a fungicide program or herbicide. It's, I don't know, you can say herbicide program, but there's a lot that goes into it, and you have to really ask yourself if the juice is worth the squeeze. If
Yep.
for
Top
how long.
dressing every other week,
Top dressing every
at
other
least
week.
at
So
least
why is
twice,
top
at
dressing
least.
every other week? Why is that? Because that's one thing I didn't consider. Why is the top dressing every other week required to keep it firm?
So to keep it firm, so hybrid Bermudas like Ultra Dwarf and bent grass, they are really big thatch creators.
Hmm.
So verticutting too, that's another thing you got to do to keep that down in conjunction with your top dressing. Usually when we top dress, we're also verticutting that same week. So we'll verticut, clean the greens, top dress, drag them in. So just to keep that that thatch management down too, because if it gets too spongy, then you got disease problems, because disease likes thatch. So you got to keep that down. And then on a playability standpoint, you don't want a green that's like hitting into a sponge.
Right. Right. It's funny. You talk about like disease prevention and lowering thatch. That's one thing. So this year I got an outlet which has like the ability to do turf raking and verticutting,
Yeah,
and I've been doing a lot more of that. And I've still did my fungicide program as usual, but as far typically throughout the summer at some point I may see a little bit of large patch trying to form here and there. This year I said I had none of that after
nice.
like regular verticutting and just keeping the thatch levels really low and keeping the turf clean. So that really is a thing as far as managing thatch levels, as far as reducing the amount of disease you may have to deal with in your lawn. All else being
Yep.
equal.
Yeah, and I'm just going to give you a shameless plug, because I was watching your YouTube shorts earlier this week where you had the rake and your dethatching unit side by side. And I thought that was good. That was a great explanation of each machine and the uses for it. But you're exactly right. Thatch likes that area where it's that moist top, not even like quarter inch, just quarter inch under the turf crown. Disease loves that area, and if you have a really thatchy area and you're watering and it's holding that moisture, it and you you don't have a preventative program, that disease will just explode, and then all of a sudden you come outside and you're like, oh, I got problems. And by the time you
Right.
realize that, you're like, well, I'm kind of in trouble.
Yep. Yep. So it's I did not I didn't really see the value of it before, but now I totally get it because to your point, like, if you're out there, you're mowing regularly, you're using Primo, you're fertilizing it, like Bermuda's going to get really thick, and the problem,
Yep.
like, around, it never fails around like late July, or not late July, late June. I'll start getting messages from people saying, hey, I'm cutting and my lawn is scalping in places where it didn't scalp before, and having cutting problems. And I'm saying, yeah,
Spongy.
it's too thick, it's too spongy.
Yep.
You gotta
You
thin it
gotta
out.
thin it out. Yep, exactly.
So it's again, people don't realize it's a lot. 3/4 of an inch, like you're going for 3/4 of an inch of ryegrass, I still will hold that 3/4 of an inch is the best height of cut to not have like real mowing or have lawn care mess up your life. Because I tried 1/2 inch last year and it about killed me. Like 1/2 inch, just under 1/2 inch,
Yep.
people don't realize
That's a
it's
lot
a
of work. That's every
ton
day.
more work.
Yep. So yeah, I think kind of what my game plan is gonna be is our builder gives us, I think it's 2,000 square feet of sod,
Mhm.
and then you pick the company. So I'm going to use the sod company we buy all our sod from for the club. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them lay the sod. I'll mow it, and then I'll slowly notch it down. Probably notch it down, mow it at that for a week. Notch it down, mow it at that for a week. Notch it down, mow it at that for a week. Maybe a little bit adjustment there. Maybe 2 weeks at a certain height of cut, depending how it's responding to it. But that's going to kind of be my game plan, I think. And I'm going to
Nice.
get one of like the manual. I'll use my old rotary mower at first, and then I'm going to get one of the my brother-in-law actually has one of the old push reels that I'm going to use. That I think it goes down to about a 1/2 inch.
Mhm.
So I'll use that to really kind of knock it down, and then once I'm at that, I'll probably just take it from a 1/2 to a 1/4 and just, this is what your new life's going to be like. And it should work, because I mean, there's been times where we've done teas at work and we've like just totally ignored the 1/3 rule
Right.
and just blasted it down. It's like we don't have the time or the luxury to walk it down that slowly. So
Right.
I think it should work. But yeah, like I said, I think that'd be fun, kind of document that with you, and we'll do kind of like a mini series with it while we do that, because I want to, before we do all that, I want to do like a whole amendment to the soil and till stuff into the soil before the
Sure.
sod gets laid, and do a whole bunch of different stuff to it. But yeah, like you were saying, it's going to be pretty cool to have just a clean
Clean
slate
canvas.
and
Yeah.
canvas. Yeah, clean canvas, and just, it's going to be great. I'm excited. I'm really excited to do it. It's going to be a lot of work, but I'm pretty excited to do it.
Yeah, given everything it's going to be fun. It'll be easy. It'll be easy.
Yeah.
So no naming sense. So this is, I guess, is a question like as far as like what you got. There's kind of stuff you get to use on golf courses that we don't get to use in home lawns. He says, oh, let's see here. He says, I know you wouldn't do this, Devin, but if you were to borrow cough something from the country club for your own yard, what would it be? Like if there was something you could use that you have at the course on your home lawn, what would be the thing you'd want to use?
Well, I guess I'm lucky in that regard, because I can pretty much borrow anything that I would like. But I guess something that would be really cool to use, probably just like the 648s, like a needle tine or like a deep
Procore.
tine kind of a thing would be pretty cool to use. Just like a really like clean swath all the way through, like really uniform, would be pretty cool. Because like usually now, just our landscape guy who has the old push behind airway
Mm-hmm.
machines that pull those kind of plugs. That's what I've always used in the past. He just comes and does my house for me. But it would be pretty cool to like pull like a 3/4 inch, 4 inch deep tine all the way across your yard. But the same thing, like if you don't know exactly where your sprinklers run,
Oh, it'll tear it
if
up.
that's an option, yeah, oh yeah, you'll, especially if it's like poly pipe, or I guess even if it's PVC, if it's not deep enough, depending on where you live,
You'll destroy
you'll
it. Yeah.
find out you'll find out in a hurry. So yeah, I think like a 648 would be really cool. Probably some of like the products we use at the club would be really cool, but obviously that's not really an option because it's not labeled for homeowners use. Yeah, I'd say probably like a 648 with like a needle tine or like a 3/4 inch uniform hollow tine would be pretty cool.
Those are sweet. 'Cause I tell you, like the company that I've had top your salon before, when they did it the second time, which is probably 4 years ago at this point, they had a Pro Core. And before, like kind of like you, I've used like the ones, the specials, the Ryans or whatever you rent from Home Depot, and
Mhm.
that you're holding on for dear life, and it aerates, but it kind of aerates. And then you watch that Pro Core do it, and it's a thing of
Press a
beauty.
button and you just walk it.
And it's just like you're watching like the fingers go, and it's they're
Yep.
all even, and I'm like, man, that is a thing of beauty. I mean, I could
So
never
I need
justify
to.
having one, but it's there's correlation and there's correlation, you know.
So I got to take a video of it. I don't know if I have any from this past year because we'll do front 9 in the spring, back 9 in the fall, and we have a 1298, which is essentially 2 648 Toro Pro Cores mounted on a tractor that's PTO driven that we use to do fairways, and those are pretty sweet too.
Nice. All right, so we got Luis here asking a question, or he says, I want to try NutriKelp and release 901C, temps in the 50s, dropping to 40s and 30s. Do you recommend? You can, but I'm not a fan
I'd
of.
wait.
I'd wait. It's just, the stuff's expensive. I don't mind if you buy it. You buy more. But it's just there's like the question I always ask myself is like, what problem are you trying to solve by spraying it now? You're not.
Nothing.
Your grass isn't growing now, and this is just not.
It's kind
I
of
don't
just a
think
waste.
yeah, it's a waste.
Um,
I wouldn't. You can if you want, but I sell this stuff, and I'm telling you, I wouldn't.
Speaking of which, I still have. I was going to use all that stuff this summer that you had sent me last year.
Mhm.
So I haven't used any of that. So I'm going to use that on the new yard to kind of help with the growing. So I'm really excited to see how that stuff works. I've got pretty high hopes for it. I think it'll be pretty
I
good.
think you'll like it. Mirror makes really good products. What you're gonna find is that it's really clean, very concentrated, but it's a good stuff. Really good product.
Yeah,
Like their
I'm really
big business
excited.
is golf. They have a golf course, I think in Tennessee. Wherever the Miramichi Green Golf Course. There's actually a Miramichi Green Golf Course. But then they do a lot of equestrian. Like a lot of their business is equestrian. So
Nice. There's actually a lot of turf business in that for like tracks and stuff as far as that. So that's actually pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah, nice. And then Greg is saying, yeah, the 648. That's what I'm pinning for. It's funny. Like I called up Jerry Pate, like there was that sharpener, do the sharpening on my Greensmaster, and I said, what would it cost? They told me what it would cost to rent a 648, and it's not cheap. And the thing I didn't realize is even if you rent it, they don't supply, like you rent it and they make you buy the tines. It doesn't come with tines. You have to buy you tell them what tines you want.
That's not cheap.
And
That's not
and they
cheap.
also like, yeah, you can tell us what tines you want, you buy them. Because I guess maybe people are particular, they don't want maybe spreading disease around, or they get
that's true.
damaged.
Yep.
But it's not
tines,
cheap.
Tines are very expensive.
Yeah. So and if you can swing it, Greg, definitely it's pretty awesome. Take video of it because it's an awesome aerator. But you pay a lot for them. So well, cool, Devin. Anything else you want to share with us? I don't want to keep you up too late, but yeah, we got to get you on again for sure. Anything else? Any other like final thoughts or words of wisdom to the Cool Season folk that are watching the live stream?
Well, I don't really think so. I think just kind of hang tight and get ready for the next season. Do your soil test and kind of gear up and know what you need to do for next year.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome, guys. Well, everyone, we made it to the 4-hour mark, our normal to the 3-hour mark, our normal thing, which was good. And hopefully you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. Ate entirely too much, and again, stay tuned because I'm gonna have a video that I'm gonna be coming out with hopefully Sunday. That's what I'm shooting for. And about some of the stuff we spoke about tonight, and I'll probably take this segment that we asked Devin about the greens and put that on YouTube as well, because a lot of you guys have asked questions about, hey, what does it take to have a golf green at home? And pretty much a lot of the amount of work I thought it would be, he's kind of confirmed that to where I don't think I have the dedication or time. And I don't, frankly, I don't like putting enough to want to, like, the thing with me, I would be too OCD. Like once I have it really nice, I wouldn't want to put on it. I wouldn't want divots on it. I wouldn't want, like, I just want it to be just perfect. And
you sound like a golf course superintendent. The best part of doing a golf course is growing when there's no golfers.
Right, exactly. I don't know how you guys do it, because people like they take big chunks out of the fairways, and then the greens, people hit hit balls in the greens. It's I'm sure every day when you go and look at it, you wonder, you see your work of art getting torn up by golfers, so.
Well, that's actually kind of funny because that's happened before in the past, like in my assistants or like AITs, and it used to really, really bother me. And it's just like, what are you going to do? It's just kind of job security. Or if you see someone doing that, it's just a good chance to educate them and tell them all what goes into it. Because usually 90% of the time they have no idea that 15 people had already gone through there to create that playing
Yeah.
surface for them to play off of. So
Yeah, they don't care. They're just thinking, oh man, I'm gonna
missed my shot.
hey, I missed my shot. Or I always wonder, because if and you don't have to answer this, but I always wonder, like, if whenever they have someone that's like a really bad golfer in the tee boxes, and they're taking a big shot, they're pretty much excavating the tee boxes of the size divots are taken out. Like, you guys probably aren't watching when it happens, but I'm sure it's got to be painful the next day when you guys come and look at it and you're like, man, what was this? What were they
Oh
doing?
yeah. Yeah, like our setup guy, when he goes through, that's like one of his things. Like, so our setup guy, he'll do T divots. He moves the T markers, changes hole locations, and yeah, sometimes like par threes, you really got to stress him. Like, all right, extra detail work on the par threes, because they get pretty beaten up.
Yeah, I bet. Well, cool, man. So when does the project for the new lawn start? Is it when are you guys going to be in the new place?
So yeah, actually, good news on that. We our construction superintendent called me last Friday, and our windows got delivered on Tuesday, so they installed them on Wednesday. So our windows are all in, and they're starting siding work. So we were about a month and a half standstill, just waiting for windows to get in. So like HVAC was done, electrical was done, gas was all done, and they were like, we just can't do anything until the windows get to supply chain. So windows got installed. I drove up there on my way back from Thanksgiving today. So windows were in. They were starting siding.
Nice.
Then we got they'll do insulation, I think he said hopefully tomorrow, and then they'll start drywalling next week, hopefully done by the end of next week. And then end of January, we're hoping we'll be in there. So early next spring I'll be getting going on the lawn. So it'll be pretty cool.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, it'll be awesome.
Well, cool, sir. I'm not going to take up any much more of your time tonight. I think we've covered all the problems. We've solved all the problems of the world, and we'll definitely have to plan to make it happen again for sure. As always, always a pleasure.
Absolutely, that'd be a lot of fun.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great week. Don't shop too much. Don't eat too much. And I really appreciate all you guys coming to hang out on the show. We will see you guys next week. Have an amazing, amazing weekend. Take care.